Imagine walking into any room with the kind of unshakable confidence that commands instant respect and opens every door. By the end of this audiobook, you'll have the exact blueprint to transform self-doubt into unstoppable power and dominate every area of your life. Your inner power. Audiobook. Introduction. You're living at half capacity. There's an extraordinary version of you waiting to emerge, a version that doesn't hesitate, doesn't shrink, and doesn't let self-doubt dictate their destiny. That version of you isn't locked away by lack of talent, opportunity, or luck. It's held back by a single fundamental force: your relationship with confidence. Forget everything you think you know about confidence. It's not a personality trait you're born with, and not a magical state that some people naturally possess while others don't. Real confidence, the kind that transforms lives and moves mountains, is a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. You've likely tried the conventional advice: fake it till you make it, just believe in yourself, or act as if. But these surface-level strategies fail because they don't address the root of the issue. True confidence isn't about putting on a show. It's about building an unshakable foundation of self-trust from the ground up. In the chapters ahead, you'll discover why your brain's default settings are programmed for self-doubt, and more importantly, how to rewire them for unstoppable momentum. Through cutting-edge psychological insights and counterintuitive strategies, you'll master the art of turning uncertainty into action and fear into fuel. By the time you complete this journey, confidence won't be something you pursue. It will be something you embody. The voice in your head will transform from your harshest critic into your strongest ally. You'll develop the kind of unwavering self-trust that no external circumstance can shake. The extraordinary life you're meant to live is waiting on the other side. Chapter 1. The Confidence Myth. You're standing at the edge. Maybe it's a new business venture you've been dreaming about launching. Perhaps it's that conversation you need to have with your boss about the promotion you deserve. Or it could be that relationship you want to take to the next level. Whatever your edge looks like, you're frozen in place by 6 familiar words. I'll do it when I feel confident. Those words sound reasonable, even responsible. After all, shouldn't you wait until you feel ready? Isn't it wise to hold back until that surge of confidence finally arrives? But here's the truth that's going to change everything. Those 6 words are the biggest trap keeping you from the life you want, and they've been sabotaging your potential far longer than you realize. Think about it. How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers while waiting to feel confident? How many dreams have you put on hold, telling yourself you'll pursue them when you finally feel ready? The cost of this waiting game isn't just measured in missed opportunities. It's measured in years of untapped potential and unfulfilled purpose. The fundamental flaw in how we think about confidence has created an epidemic of waiting. We've been conditioned to believe that confidence is a prerequisite for action, that we need to feel capable before we can begin. This belief is so deeply ingrained that it feels like common sense. But it's actually a complete reversal of how confidence really works. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world through one of the most audacious entrepreneurial journeys of our time. In 1995, Elon Musk stood at his own edge. He had an idea that most people would have dismissed as absurd: creating an online payment system in an era when most people still didn't trust the internet with their credit card information. Did Musk feel confident about the venture that would become PayPal? By his own admission, he was terrified. In interviews, Musk has revealed that he gave himself only about a 10% chance of success. He wasn't confident in his ability to build the company, navigate the complex financial regulations, or convince people to trust this new way of handling money. But here's the crucial point. He acted anyway. Musk understood something that most people never grasp. Confidence isn't a prerequisite for action, it's a result of it. I think it's important to have a feedback loop, Musk once explained, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. This feedback loop isn't possible without action. You can't improve what you haven't started. This reveals the first principle of genuine confidence. Action precedes confidence, not the other way around. This isn't just motivational rhetoric. It's backed by decades of psychological research. Studies in behavioral psychology have consistently shown that our brains build confidence through evidence, not through positive thinking or waiting for the right feeling. When you wait to feel confident before acting, you're actually reinforcing your brain's doubt circuits. Each time you postpone action until you feel ready, you're telling your neural pathways that the situation is indeed something to be feared. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle where the longer you wait, the less confident you feel, and the harder it becomes to take action. But there's a way to break this cycle, and it starts with understanding the action-first principle. This principle states that confidence is built through progressive action, not preliminary emotion. Think of confidence like muscle strength. You don't wait until you feel strong enough to lift weights. You become strong by lifting weights consistently, starting with what you can manage today. The key is to shift your focus from feeling confident to taking confident actions, no matter how small. This is where most people get stuck. They're looking for some grand gesture or perfect moment when they'll finally feel ready. But true confidence is built through small, strategic actions taken consistently over time. Let's see how this plays out in practice through Alex's story. Alex was a marketing coordinator who dreamed of launching his own agency. For years, he told himself he'd make the leap once he felt more confident in his abilities. He spent countless hours reading business books, attending webinars, and preparing, all while waiting for that elusive feeling of readiness. Then Alex learned about the action-first principle and decided to try a different approach. Instead of waiting to feel confident enough to launch a full agency, he started taking small but significant actions. He began by offering freelance services to a single client on weekends. The first project was terrifying, and he felt anything but confident. But he did it anyway. With each small project, Alex gathered evidence of his capabilities. He learned from mistakes, refined his processes, and gradually built a portfolio. Most importantly, he discovered that confidence wasn't something that magically appeared. It was something he built through progressive action. Within 6 months, Alex had enough clients and experience to transition to his agency full-time. The remarkable thing wasn't just the business success. It was how his relationship with confidence had fundamentally changed. He no longer waited to feel confident before taking action. Instead, he used action as his pathway to confidence. This brings us to the practical application for your own life. The action-first principle works through 3 key mechanisms. Evidence building. Each action you take, regardless of the outcome, provides concrete evidence that you can handle challenges and uncertainty. This evidence, not positive thinking, is what builds genuine confidence. Desensitization. Regular exposure to uncertainty and challenge reduces their power over you. What once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable through repeated exposure and action. Momentum. Generation. Small actions create forward momentum that makes larger actions feel more natural and achievable. This is how you build the foundation for major life changes. The key is starting small enough that you can act despite your current level of confidence, but significant enough that it pushes you slightly outside your comfort zone. This is where real growth happens. Your challenge now is to put this principle into immediate action. Here's what you're going to do within the next 24 hours. Identify one specific action you've been postponing until you feel more confident. It should be something meaningful but manageable. Not so big that it paralyzes you, but big enough that it makes you slightly uncomfortable. Break that action down into the smallest possible first step. If it's starting a business, maybe it's registering a domain name, If it's asking for a promotion, perhaps it's writing down your key accomplishments from the past year. Commit to completing that first step within the next 24 hours, regardless of how you feel. Don't wait for confidence. Use action to build it. Remember, the confidence you're waiting for isn't going to arrive on its own. It's waiting for you on the other side of action. Your move. Chapter 2. Your Confidence Blueprint. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine stepping through a portal and coming face to face with your future self, 1 year from today. What you see stops you in your tracks. There's something different about them, about you. It's not just their posture or the way they carry themselves. It's an energy, an unshakable sense of self-trust that radiates from within. They tackle challenges you currently find terrifying with calm assurance. They speak their truth without hesitation. They pursue ambitious goals, not with desperate hope, but with quiet certainty. This isn't just a thought experiment. The transformation you're imagining isn't just possible. It's predictable when you understand the blueprint of how genuine confidence is built. That future version of you isn't some far-fetched fantasy. They're the natural result of applying specific principles that have been proven to forge unshakable self-trust. Most people believe confidence is something you either have or don't have, a product of personality or circumstances. But the truth is far more empowering. Confidence follows a predictable pattern of development, one that can be understood, mapped, and replicated. Just like building a house, creating rock-solid confidence requires a clear blueprint and systematic execution. Take Michelle Obama's remarkable journey. Long before she became one of the most influential figures in the world, she was a young girl from Chicago's South Side, grappling with self-doubt and uncertainty. In her memoir, Becoming, she reveals how her early years were filled with questions about whether she was good enough or belonged in the prestigious spaces she found herself in. What's fascinating about Michelle's transformation isn't just the end result. It's the systematic way she built her confidence through specific stages. At Princeton, she didn't start by trying to revolutionize campus culture. Instead, she focused on mastering her academics while gradually taking on leadership roles in student organizations. Each small success became a building block for larger challenges. When she joined Sidley and Austin as a young lawyer, she didn't immediately assert herself as a mentor to junior associates. She first focused on proving her competence through meticulous work, building relationships one conversation at a time, and gradually expanding her sphere of influence. Even as First Lady, she didn't launch her major initiatives immediately. She spent time learning the landscape, building key relationships, and testing smaller programs before scaling up to national campaigns. This systematic approach reveals 3 core principles of the confidence blueprint. First, confidence develops in stages, not leaps. Each stage builds upon the last, creating a solid foundation that can weather any storm. Second, genuine confidence requires both internal and external work, strengthening your self-belief while simultaneously taking action in the world. Third, and most crucially, confidence is domain-specific before it becomes generalized. You build it in one area, then learn to transfer those lessons to new challenges. Let's see how these principles play out in real life through Miguel's story. As a talented but introverted software developer, Miguel struggled with speaking up in meetings and taking on leadership responsibilities despite his technical expertise. Rather than trying to transform himself overnight, he created a deliberate blueprint for building his confidence. He started with small, manageable challenges, first contributing 1 comment per team meeting, then gradually increasing his participation. He volunteered to lead minor projects where his technical skills gave him a solid foundation, using that familiar ground to develop his leadership capabilities. Each success, no matter how small, was carefully noted in what he called his evidence journal, concrete proof that he could handle more than he initially believed. When faced with setbacks, Like a presentation that didn't go as planned, Miguel didn't retreat. Instead, he used his blueprint to break down the challenge into smaller components he could master one at a time. He practiced presenting to small groups before taking on larger audiences. He sought feedback from trusted colleagues and integrated it into his approach. Within 8 months, Miguel had transformed from someone who avoided the spotlight into a respected team leader. But the most remarkable change wasn't in his external success. It was in his relationship with challenges. He no longer saw them as threats to avoid, but as opportunities to expand his capabilities. The power of the confidence blueprint lies in its ability to transform abstract goals into concrete action steps. Instead of trying to become more confident, you create a specific roadmap for developing confidence in key areas of your life. This transforms confidence from a vague aspiration into an achievable outcome. Your challenge now is to create your own confidence blueprint. Take out a piece of paper and identify 3 specific areas of your life where you want to develop unshakable confidence. For each area, write down. Remember, you're not waiting for confidence to find you. You're building it, systematically and intentionally, one step at a time. Chapter 3. The Science of Self-Trust. One phone call. That's all it took to completely transform Kate Wilson's life. Standing in her office, staring at the ringing phone, she had exactly 3 seconds to decide. Answer it, and pitch her innovative software solution to a Fortune 500 CEO who had unexpectedly reached out, or let it go to voicemail and stick to her safe corporate job. Her heart raced, her palms sweated, and every instinct screamed to let it ring. But in that microscopic moment between rings, something remarkable happened in her brain. A neural pathway that had been gradually strengthening over months of small victories fired just strongly enough to push her hand toward the phone. That split-second decision, powered by a precisely timed surge of neurotransmitters, set off a chain reaction that would eventually lead to a multi-million-dollar company. But more importantly, it illuminates something fascinating about how your brain builds and maintains confidence. Every time you're facing a moment of truth, whether it's answering that crucial phone call, stepping onto a stage, or speaking up in a meeting, your brain is running complex calculations based on neural pathways built from every previous experience you've had. The exciting truth about confidence is that it's not just a feeling or a mindset. It's a physical reality encoded in your neural circuitry. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on your experiences, thoughts, and actions. This process, known as neuroplasticity, means that confidence isn't fixed. It's a skill that can be systematically developed by understanding and working with your brain's natural tendencies. Few stories illustrate this principle more powerfully than David Goggins' remarkable transformation. Before becoming known as the toughest man alive and setting numerous endurance records, Goggins was an overweight pest exterminator struggling with severe self-doubt and depression. His journey from spraying cockroaches to completing some of the world's most grueling ultramarathons wasn't just about physical training. It was about fundamentally rewiring his brain's confidence circuits. "I was the weakest person I knew," Goggins recalls in his book Can't Hurt Me. "I had to callous my mind." What he intuitively understood, and what neuroscience now confirms, is that confidence is built through a process of progressive neural adaptation. Each time Goggins pushed through a barrier, whether it was running an extra mile when his body screamed to stop, or facing his fears of water during Navy SEAL training, he wasn't just building physical endurance. He was literally rewiring his brain's confidence pathways. The science behind this transformation is fascinating. Every time you face a challenge and take action despite fear or doubt, your brain releases a cocktail of neurochemicals, including dopamine and norepinephrine. These chemicals strengthen the neural pathways associated with confidence, while weakening those linked to self-doubt. It's similar to carving a path through a dense forest. The more you walk it, the clearer and more established the trail becomes. But here's what makes this understanding so powerful for you. Goggins didn't start with ultra-marathons. He began with one small challenge at a time, gradually building stronger neural pathways for confidence through consistent, progressive action. His brain adapted not because he was special, but because he understood intuitively what neuroscience now proves. Confidence is built through a process of systematic neural reinforcement. This brings us to 3 critical insights about your brain's confidence-building mechanism. First, your brain doesn't distinguish between natural and developed confidence. The neural pathways are identical whether you've had them since childhood or built them deliberately as an adult. This means you can literally construct confidence from scratch in any area of your life. Second, your brain responds more strongly to progressive challenges than to random acts of courage. Small, consistent wins create stronger neural pathways than occasional big victories. This explains why sustainable confidence can't be built through motivation alone. It requires systematic training of your neural circuits. Third, and perhaps most importantly, your brain's plasticity means that no pattern of self-doubt is permanently fixed. Just as Goggins rewired his brain from self-doubt to unstoppable confidence, you can systematically rebuild any neural pathway that isn't serving you. This understanding transforms how we approach confidence building, as illustrated by Jordan's remarkable journey from debilitating performance anxiety to successful musician. Jordan had been playing piano since childhood and had undeniable talent, but severe anxiety had kept them from performing publicly for years. Every time they attempted to play for an audience, their hands would shake uncontrollably, their mind would go blank, and they'd experience near panic attacks. "I thought I was just born this way," Jordan explains. "I believe some people had performance confidence and others, like me, didn't." But after learning about neuroplasticity and how the brain builds confidence pathways, Jordan developed a systematic approach to rewiring their performance anxiety. Instead of trying to overcome their fear all at once, Jordan created what they called their neural retraining protocol. He started by playing for their cat, then for a single family member, then for 2 people, gradually increasing the audience size while using specific techniques to strengthen their confidence circuits. He used controlled breathing exercises before each performance to regulate their autonomic nervous system, helping to create new neural associations between performing and feeling calm. He practiced visualization exercises, spending 10 minutes each day imagining successful performances while in a relaxed state, strengthening the neural pathways associated with confident performance. Most importantly, he maintained a neural evidence journal, documenting every successful performance no matter how small. This systematic recording of victories helped their brain build new patterns of expectation around performing. The results were remarkable. Within 6 months, Jordan was regularly performing at local venues. Within a year, he was teaching performance confidence techniques to other musicians. The biggest revelation, Jordan shares, was realizing that confidence isn't something you find, it's something you build, one neural pathway at a time. This brings us to how you can begin rewiring your own brain for greater confidence. The key is to work with your brain's natural tendencies rather than against them. Here's a powerful exercise that leverages your brain's neuroplasticity to begin building stronger confidence circuits immediately. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and think of a moment when you felt absolutely confident. It doesn't matter how small or large the situation was, only that the feeling was real and clear. Now, engage all your senses in recreating that moment. What did you see? Notice the details of your environment, the expressions on people's faces, the quality of light. What did you hear? Recall the sounds, whether it was applause, words of praise, or simply the satisfied sound of your own breathing. What did you feel physically? Pay attention to your posture, the way you held yourself, the sensation of confidence in your body. What emotions were present? Let yourself fully experience the feeling of certainty, capability, and self-trust. Hold this full sensory experience for at least 30 seconds, allowing your brain to strengthen the neural pathways associated with confidence. This isn't just visualization, it's neural reinforcement. Your brain processes imagined experiences similarly to real ones, making this a powerful tool for rewiring your confidence circuits. Your challenge for the next 7 days is to practice this neural reinforcement exercise twice daily, once in the morning and once before bed. Each time, choose a different confidence memory to reinforce, gradually building a library of positive neural patterns. Keep a simple log of how the exercise affects your confidence levels throughout the day. Remember, you're not just doing a mental exercise, you're literally rewiring your brain's confidence circuits. Every time you practice, you're carving stronger neural pathways for self-trust and capable action. Just as Goggins transformed himself from the weakest person he knew into an icon of mental toughness, and just as Jordan overcame debilitating performance anxiety to become a confident musician, you can systematically rebuild your brain's confidence patterns. The neural pathways to unshakable confidence are already present in your brain. They're just waiting to be strengthened through conscious, consistent practice. Start now with your first neural reinforcement session. Your brain is ready to change. Are you ready to lead it? Chapter 4. Rewriting your story. That voice in your head just won't stop. You're not ready for this presentation. Everyone else is more qualified. You'll probably mess this up like last time. It's 3 a.m. and instead of sleeping, you're lying awake rehearsing all the ways tomorrow could go wrong. The voice is familiar. It's been your constant companion through every challenge, every opportunity, and every moment of potential growth. But what if this moment right now could be different? What if this sleepless night could become the turning point where you finally take control of your inner narrative? The stories we tell ourselves shape our reality more profoundly than any external circumstance. They're not just thoughts. They're the operating system of your confidence, the foundation of every action you take or avoid, every risk you embrace or reject. Your brain is constantly weaving experiences into narratives that either empower or limit you, and understanding this process is the key to transforming your self-talk from a critic into your strongest ally. Few stories illustrate the transformative power of personal narrative more powerfully than Maya Angelou's journey. Before becoming one of the most influential voices in literature, Angelou experienced trauma so severe that she stopped speaking entirely for nearly 5 years. As a young girl, after a devastating personal violation, she convinced herself that her voice had the power to kill, that her words had caused the death of her abuser. This narrative, born from trauma, could have silenced her forever. But Angelou's story didn't end there. Through the patient guidance of her mentor, Mrs. Bertha Flowers, she began to reshape her narrative. Mrs. Flowers introduced her to literature, showing her how words could heal rather than harm, how stories could liberate rather than imprison. Gradually, Angelou began to rewrite her story, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a voice for change, strength, and human dignity. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you, Angelou would later write. This profound insight reveals a crucial truth about confidence. Our untold stories, the narratives we've accepted about who we are and what we're capable of, can either cage us or set us free. Angelou's transformation from silence to becoming one of the world's most powerful voices wasn't just about talent or opportunity. It was about consciously rewriting her internal narrative. The science behind this transformation is fascinating. Research in narrative psychology shows that our brains are literally wired for storytelling. When you tell yourself a story about who you are or what you can achieve, you're not just engaging in idle self-talk. You're actually programming your neural pathways for specific behaviors and outcomes. These self-narratives create what neuroscientists call predictive loops. Your brain anticipates certain outcomes based on your established story, which then influences your behavior in ways that often fulfill these expectations. This explains why simply trying to think positive rarely creates lasting change. Your brain isn't convinced by superficial affirmations that contradict your deep internal narrative. Instead, lasting confidence comes from consciously rewriting your core stories in ways that your brain accepts as authentic and actionable. Let me help you transform your self-limiting stories through strategic narrative reconstruction. Take Chen, a technical expert who believed he wasn't a people person. Rather than forcing extroversion, Chen reframed his analytical nature as a social asset. Instead of seeing technical skills as a barrier, Chen recognized how careful listening and problem-solving actually strengthened client relationships. He shifted from viewing small talk as pointless to seeing each conversation as a learning opportunity. Rather than believing charisma was required for sales, he realized clients valued his authentic, solution-focused approach. By documenting positive interactions where technical abilities enhanced connections, Chen developed genuine confidence and successfully transitioned to technical sales within 6 months. Chapter 5. The Power of Strategic Discomfort. Picture yourself at rock bottom. You've just failed spectacularly, publicly, and painfully. Your heart is racing, your face is burning, and that voice in your head is screaming that you should have stayed safely in your comfort zone. This moment, this crushing, overwhelming moment of complete vulnerability, might feel like the death of confidence. But what if I told you it's actually the birthplace of unshakable self-trust? Most people believe confidence comes from success, from staying within the boundaries of what we know we can handle. This couldn't be further from the truth. Real, lasting confidence isn't built in the warm glow of comfort. It's forged in the fires of challenge, failure, and strategic discomfort. No one understands this principle better than Admiral William McRaven, whose journey through Navy SEAL training provides one of the most powerful illustrations of how discomfort builds extraordinary confidence. During Hell Week, the most demanding phase of SEAL training, candidates face seemingly impossible challenges while operating on virtually no sleep. They're constantly cold, wet, and pushed far beyond what they believe they can endure. On his 4th day of Hell Week, McRaven faced what he later described as his breaking point. After hours of physical exhaustion, his body trembling from cold and fatigue, he and his boat crew were ordered to navigate through dangerous surf conditions. As waves crashed over their small boat and the cold threatened to shut down their muscles, McRaven's mind screamed at him to ring the bell, the symbolic act of quitting that would end his suffering. But something extraordinary happened in that moment of extreme discomfort. Instead of breaking him, it revealed something he never knew existed within himself. As his boat crew worked together, each person fighting their own battle against the urge to quit, McRaven discovered a reservoir of strength that only became accessible when all other options were exhausted. This wasn't just about physical endurance. What McRaven and his fellow SEALs were really developing was a profound psychological truth about confidence. When you voluntarily step into discomfort and survive, you permanently expand your conception of what's possible. Each wave that didn't break them, each hour they pushed beyond their perceived limits, built not just resilience, but an unshakable knowledge of their capabilities. McRaven would later reflect that this principle, the transformative power of strategic discomfort, became the foundation of not just his military career, but his entire approach to leadership and personal growth. You can't change the world from your comfort zone, he often says, emphasizing that our greatest potential lies just beyond the boundaries of what feels safe and familiar. The science behind this phenomenon is fascinating. Research in neuroplasticity shows that our brains literally rewire themselves when we push beyond our comfort zones. This process, known as stress-induced adaptation, creates new neural pathways that become the foundation of enhanced capabilities and genuine confidence. But here's the crucial distinction. Not all discomfort is created equal. There's a specific zone, what psychologists call the growth zone or optimal anxiety zone, where challenge and capability meet in perfect tension. Too little challenge keeps us stagnant. Too much overwhelms our adaptive capabilities. The key is finding this sweet spot where discomfort serves as a catalyst for growth rather than a trigger for shutdown. This brings us to Kai's story, a powerful example of how strategic discomfort can transform limiting beliefs into unshakable confidence. 5 years ago, Kai was a brilliant software developer whose social anxiety kept them trapped in a cycle of underachievement. The thought of speaking in meetings would trigger panic attacks. Client presentations seemed as daunting as climbing Mount Everest. Kai had all the technical expertise to start his own consulting business, but remained stuck in a junior position, watching less qualified colleagues advance past him. The turning point came when Kai discovered the principle of progressive discomfort. Instead of trying to overcome his social anxiety all at once, which would have been overwhelming, he designed a systematic approach to expand his comfort zone through carefully calibrated challenges. Kai started with what he called micro-exposures, deliberately putting himself in slightly uncomfortable situations that were challenging but manageable. He began by speaking up once in every team meeting, even if just to ask a clarifying question. Each time he survived these small challenges, his confidence grew incrementally. Then came the comfort zone expansion projects. Kai volunteered to lead small internal presentations, starting with just 3 colleagues in the room. He joined a local tech meetup group, committing to having one meaningful conversation with a stranger at each event. He even started a blog sharing his technical expertise, gradually building an audience and his own voice in the industry. The key to Kai's success wasn't fearlessness, it was strategic discomfort. He never tried to eliminate anxiety completely. Instead, he learned to reframe it as a signal of growth opportunity. Each racing heartbeat before a presentation became a reminder that he was pushing his boundaries productively. Within 18 months, Kai had transformed his relationship with discomfort. The same person who once dreaded speaking up in meetings was now confidently leading workshops for dozens of developers. His blog had attracted industry attention, leading to speaking opportunities at conferences. Most importantly, he had launched his own consulting business, something that would have seemed impossible just 2 years earlier. The biggest shift, Kai reflects, wasn't in eliminating fear or anxiety. It was in developing a new relationship with discomfort. I learned to see it as feedback rather than a warning signal. Each time I survived something that scared me, my confidence grew not because the fear disappeared, but because I proved to myself I could handle it. This brings us to your own journey of strategic discomfort. The goal isn't to become fearless. It's to build the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you can handle challenges effectively. Here's how to create your own growth zone strategy. First, understand that confidence isn't built in giant leaps, but through consistent strategic steps into discomfort. Each small victory rewires your brain's expectations about what you can handle. The key is to make these steps challenging enough to trigger growth, but not so overwhelming that they trigger shutdown. Start by identifying your current comfort zone boundaries. Where do you feel the edge of security? What activities make your heart rate increase slightly? These edges are your growth opportunities. They're showing you exactly where to focus your confidence-building efforts. Next, design what I call productive discomfort challenges. These are specific, measurable actions that push you slightly beyond your current capabilities. They should make you nervous, but not panicked. Think of it as turning up the difficulty dial by 10 to 20%, not 100%. For example, if public speaking terrifies you, don't start by signing up to give a TED talk. Instead, begin by speaking up more in familiar group settings. Commit to asking one question in every meeting. Then gradually increase the challenge. Lead a small team discussion. give a presentation to friendly colleagues, speak at a local professional group. The key is consistency and progressive challenge. Each time you survive a discomfort challenge, your brain updates its model of what's possible. This isn't just positive thinking, it's literally rewiring your neural pathways through experience. Remember to monitor your physiological responses during these challenges. Learn to distinguish between productive discomfort, slightly elevated heart rate, manageable anxiety, and overwhelming stress, panic, shutdown. This awareness helps you stay in the growth zone where real confidence is built. Document your progress. Keep a discomfort diary tracking each challenge you face and overcome. This creates a concrete record of your expanding capabilities, something you can return to when self-doubt creeps in. Most importantly, celebrate the attempt, not just the outcome. Every time you step into discomfort voluntarily, you're building confidence, regardless of whether you succeed in the conventional sense. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's expansion. This brings us to your immediate challenge. Within the next 48 hours, you're going to take one specific step outside your comfort zone. Here's how. Identify an area of your life where playing it safe has kept you from growing. Be honest. Where has comfort become a cage rather than a sanctuary? Design one specific, measurable action that would push you about 20% beyond your current comfort level. Make it challenging enough to trigger growth, but not so daunting that you'll avoid it. Set a specific time and place for this action. Write it down. Tell someone who will hold you accountable. Before you take action, write down your fears and expected obstacles. Then write down how you'll handle each one. After completing the challenge, document what you learned about yourself and your capabilities. Remember, just as Admiral McRaven discovered his true strength in the crushing waves of Hell Week, and just as Kai built a thriving business by systematically expanding his comfort zone, your path to unshakable confidence lies just beyond the boundaries of what feels comfortable today. Your challenge awaits. What's your first step? Chapter 6. Mastering Your Inner Voice. Imagine for a moment that your inner critic had to sit through an annual performance review. Picture that relentless voice that questions your every move, that whispers doubts into your moments of triumph, suddenly being evaluated on its effectiveness. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Yet this perspective shift holds the key to transforming your relationship with self-talk and unlocking unprecedented levels of confidence. The way we talk to ourselves shapes not just our momentary feelings, but the very architecture of our potential. Most people view their inner critic as an enemy to be silenced or overcome. But what if this voice, even in its harshest moments, was actually attempting to serve a vital function in your growth and survival? Look at Oprah Winfrey's remarkable journey from a childhood marked by poverty and trauma in rural Mississippi to becoming one of the most influential media figures in history. Early in her career, after being demoted from her position as Baltimore's first black female news anchor, Winfrey's inner critic was relentless. She recalls lying awake at night, haunted by thoughts of inadequacy and failure. But rather than trying to silence this voice, Winfrey made a crucial discovery that would later become a cornerstone of her phenomenal success. She learned to recognize her inner critic not as an enemy, but as a misguided protector, one that needed direction and purpose rather than elimination. I realized that this voice, as harsh as it was trying to prepare me for challenges, Winfrey has shared. Once I understood this, I could begin transforming it from a destructive force into a constructive ally. This insight led her to develop what she calls her internal advisory board, different aspects of her inner dialogue serving distinct purposes in her personal and professional growth. The science behind this approach is fascinating. Research in cognitive psychology reveals that our internal dialogue operates through three distinct voices, or mental modes. The critic, often viewed as the villain, this voice actually evolved as a survival mechanism, scanning for potential threats and weaknesses. When properly directed, it becomes a valuable source of strategic insight. The cheerleader. This voice provides encouragement and motivation, but can sometimes lack discernment. Its effectiveness depends on being balanced with realistic assessment. The wise observer. The most mature of the three, this voice maintains perspective and can mediate between the critic and cheerleader, drawing on experience and wisdom to guide decisions. This brings us to Riley's story, a powerful example of how mastering these internal voices can transform self-doubt into unshakable confidence. 3 years ago, Riley was a talented software developer, trapped in a cycle of imposter syndrome. Despite a decade of experience and numerous successful projects, she constantly questioned her abilities and hesitated to pursue leadership opportunities. Riley's inner critic was particularly vocal during team meetings, questioning every contribution before it was even voiced. "Who are you to suggest improvements to the system architecture?" it would demand. "Everyone else here is more qualified." The turning point came when Riley learned about the three-voice framework. Instead of trying to silence the critic, she began treating it like a member of her internal team, one whose input needed to be evaluated and directed rather than accepted blindly. When the critic raised concerns about her qualifications, Riley learned to engage her wise observer. What evidence do we actually have about my capabilities? What past experiences can inform this situation? She also activated her cheerleader strategically, not for blind praise, but for specific reminders of past successes and overcome challenges. Through consistent practice, Riley developed what she called her confidence council, a balanced internal dialogue where each voice served a specific purpose. The critic helped identify areas for improvement, the cheerleader provided motivation and recognition, and the wise observer maintained perspective and strategic direction. This transformed approach to self-talk became the foundation for Riley's remarkable career transformation. Within 18 months, she had launched her own development consultancy, successfully pitched to major clients, and built a team of her own, achievements that would have seemed impossible when her critic ruled unchecked. The key insight from Riley's journey wasn't in eliminating self-doubt, but in transforming it into a constructive force for growth. They learned to ask, "What is this voice trying to protect me from? What wisdom might it hold beneath its harsh delivery?" Your exercise today is to conduct your own inner voice performance review. For the next hour, maintain a simple log of your self-talk. Note when each voice speaks, critic, cheerleader, or wise observer, and what triggers them. Don't try to change anything yet, simply observe with curiosity. Then, write a brief performance evaluation for each voice. What's working? What isn't? How could each voice better serve your growth and confidence? This isn't about passing judgment, but about understanding the current dynamics of your internal dialogue. Only by first recognizing these patterns can you begin to reshape them into powerful allies for building unstoppable confidence. Chapter 7. The Confidence Compound Effect. Have you ever considered the raw mathematical power of small improvements? If you improve just 1% each day for a year, you'll end up nearly 38 times better than where you started. Meanwhile, decreasing by 1% daily leaves you approaching zero. This isn't motivational hype, it's mathematical certainty. While you've been waiting for the perfect moment to make a dramatic change, this simple equation reveals a profound truth. Tiny, consistent actions, compounded over time, create exponential results. You don't need grand gestures or complete personality overhauls. You need small strategic steps taken consistently. The science behind this principle is fascinating. Research in neuroplasticity shows that our brains physically change through repeated actions, no matter how small. Each time you take a tiny, confident action, you're not just accomplishing that specific task. You're literally rewiring your neural pathways to make confidence your default state. It's like creating a path through tall grass. Each time you walk it, the way becomes clearer and easier to traverse. Few people embody the power of compound growth better than Warren Buffett. While most people know him as one of the world's wealthiest investors, his journey began with remarkably small steps. At age 6, Buffett started by buying 6 packs of Coca-Cola for 25 cents and selling each bottle for 5 cents, making a tiny profit on each transaction. He then moved on to selling gum door to door, then magazines, then installing pinball machines in local businesses. What's remarkable about Buffett's story isn't just his eventual success, but how he approached each small opportunity with the same methodical dedication he would later apply to billion-dollar investments. He didn't wait to feel confident before taking action. He built confidence through consistent small actions. A pivotal moment came when young Buffett, terrified of public speaking, forced himself to take a Dale Carnegie course. Instead of trying to become a master orator overnight, he focused on tiny improvements, speaking up once per class, then twice, then volunteering for longer presentations. Each small win built upon the last, creating a compound effect that transformed him from someone who would get physically ill before speaking to a person who now captivates thousands at his annual shareholders' meetings. The most important investment you can make is in yourself, Buffett often says. But what's less commonly discussed is how he approached this investment. Not through dramatic gestures, but through small, consistent actions that compounds over time. He reads 500 pages every day, not because he was born a genius, but because he built this habit gradually, starting with just a few pages daily and increasing slowly over time. This brings us to a revolutionary concept I call confidence stacking, the process by which small wins in one area of life create momentum that naturally spills over into others. Think of it like a positive domino effect. When you prove to yourself that you can master one small habit, your brain begins to wonder, what else might I be capable of? The science behind confidence stacking is rooted in how our brain processes success. Each small win triggers the release of dopamine, not just making us feel good, but literally training our brain to seek out more challenges. This creates an upward spiral, where each tiny victory makes the next one more likely. Consider Zara's story. 5 years ago, she was a software developer who could barely speak up in team meetings. Her confidence was so low that she would send emails instead of having face-to-face conversations with colleagues, even when they sat just a few desks away. Instead of trying to transform herself overnight, Zara started with one tiny commitment: speaking up at least once in every team meeting, even if just to say, "I agree." It seemed almost trivially small, but she stuck to it religiously. After a month, she noticed something interesting. Not only was speaking up becoming easier, but she felt slightly more confident in other areas too. Encouraged by this small success, she added another tiny habit: spending 5 minutes each morning reviewing her achievements from the previous day. Again, it seemed almost too simple to matter, but she trusted the compound effect. 3 months in, colleagues started noticing changes. Zara wasn't just speaking up in meetings, she was contributing valuable insights. Her daily achievement review had helped her recognize patterns in her work that made her more effective. This led to her being assigned to lead a small project, which terrified her at first. But instead of letting fear paralyze her, she applied the same principle of tiny actions. She broke down project management into small daily tasks, sending one update email, having one brief check-in with a team member, reviewing one aspect of the project plan. Each small action built upon the last. A year later, Zara had not only successfully delivered that project, but had become known as someone who could handle complex challenges with calm confidence. She was invited to speak at a tech conference, something that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. Rather than panicking, she prepared by practicing her presentation for 5 minutes each day for 3 months, leading up to the event. The compound effect of these small actions transformed not just her professional life, but her personal life as well. The confidence she built at work spilled over into her social life, her health habits, and even her hobbies. She started a local tech meetup group, began mentoring junior developers, and eventually launched her own consulting business. Looking back, Zara reflects, it's amazing how such small changes could create such massive results. If someone had told me 5 years ago that I'd be running my own business and speaking at conferences, I would have thought they were crazy. But by focusing on tiny daily improvements, it all happened so naturally that it almost feels like it was inevitable. This is the power of confidence compounding. Each small action creates a foundation for the next, building momentum that becomes virtually unstoppable over time. The key is understanding that confidence isn't built through occasional big leaps, but through consistent small steps that compound. The beauty of this approach is its accessibility. Unlike strategies that require dramatic life changes or intense commitment, confidence compounding works because it's sustainable. You don't need to reorganize your entire life or find hours of extra time each day. You just need to identify and commit to small, high-leverage actions that you can perform consistently. Here's how to design your own confidence compounding system. First, identify your confidence target, a specific area where you want to grow. Be precise. Instead of become more confident socially, choose something like become confident in group conversations, or become confident in professional networking situations. Next, break down this target into the smallest possible actions that move you toward your goal. These should be so small that they feel almost trivial. Remember, we're looking for 1% improvements, not complete transformations. For example, if your goal is becoming confident in group conversations, your small actions might include smiling at one new person each day, contributing one comment in any group situation daily. Then, create a simple tracking system. This doesn't need to be elaborate. A check mark in a notebook or on your phone can suffice. The important thing is measuring your consistency, not the magnitude of your actions. As these small actions become habitual, you can begin stacking new ones. But be patient. Remember that compound growth starts slowly, but becomes powerful over time. Trust the math. 1% daily improvement leads to massive transformation within a year. Your challenge now is to begin your own confidence compounding journey. Here's your specific task. Choose one area of confidence you want to develop. Identify 3 tiny daily actions that will contribute to growth in this area. Commit to performing these actions daily for the next 30 days. Chapter 8. Body Language Mastery. You walk into a room, and before you've said a single word, something shifts. People notice. Conversations pause. Energy redirects. This isn't about looking like a movie star or wearing expensive clothes. It's about the invisible force field of confidence that radiates from within, expressed through every cell of your body. This power isn't reserved for the naturally charismatic. It's a skill you can master through precise physical adjustments that reshape both how you feel and how others perceive you. Your body isn't just a vehicle for your confidence. It's the primary instrument through which you experience and express it. Research in embodied cognition reveals a profound truth. Your physical state directly shapes your psychological state, and vice versa. When you adjust your body, you literally rewire your brain's confidence circuits in real time. Few stories illustrate this principle more powerfully than Arnold Schwarzenegger's journey from a skinny Austrian teenager to one of the most recognizable figures in the world. While most focus on his physical transformation, the real story lies in how he used intentional body language to build unstoppable confidence. In his early bodybuilding days, Schwarzenegger would spend hours practicing his posing routine, not just for competitions, but because he understood that physical presence was the foundation of psychological power. I would practice my poses for hours in front of the mirror, Schwarzenegger recalls. Not just to perfect the aesthetic, but because I discovered that holding these powerful positions actually changed how I felt inside. The more I embodied strength physically, the more naturally confident I became in every situation. What's fascinating is how Schwarzenegger applied this principle beyond bodybuilding. When preparing for his first Hollywood auditions, he used the same approach. Despite barely speaking English, he would practice power poses before every meeting, standing in expansive positions that maximized his physical presence. This wasn't just about looking confident. Research shows that holding such poses for just 2 minutes increases testosterone and decreases cortisol, creating a biochemical confidence boost. The science behind this is remarkable. Studies in neuroplasticity show that your brain can't distinguish between confidence that starts in the mind versus the body. When you adjust your physiology to mirror confident body language, your brain automatically begins producing the corresponding emotional state. It's a hack that bypasses the usual think your way to confidence approach, creating immediate shifts in both how you feel and how others respond to you. This brings us to Dev's story, a software engineer whose career was stalling despite brilliant technical skills. In team meetings, Dev would unconsciously make himself smaller, shoulders hunched, arms crossed, gaze down. This posture wasn't just reflecting low confidence, it was actively creating it. Through working with a body language coach, Dev learned that confidence has a specific physical geometry. He started with 3 basic adjustments: lengthening his spine, broadening his shoulders, and maintaining steady eye contact. At first, these changes felt unnatural, even uncomfortable, but Dev committed to practicing these adjustments for just 5 minutes each morning in front of a mirror. The transformation was remarkable. Within weeks, colleagues began responding differently. Dev's ideas, which had always been valuable, were suddenly being heard and implemented. Project leads started requesting Dev for his teams. The most surprising change came during Dev's performance review, when his manager noted, "You've really grown into a leadership presence these past few months." What changed? Not Dev's technical abilities or experience, just his physical presence. By adjusting his body language, Dev had literally reshaped both his self-perception and others' perception of them. Within 6 months, Dev was promoted to team lead, a position they had previously believed was out of reach. The key insight from both Schwarzenegger and Dev's stories is that confident body language isn't just about external appearance. It's about creating a feedback loop between your physical state and your psychological state. When you adjust your body, you adjust your brain's confidence settings. Here's how this works in practice. Research shows that confidence has specific physical markers. When you consciously adopt these physical patterns, you trigger what neuroscientists call postural feedback. Your brain interprets these confident positions as evidence that you are confident and begins adjusting your emotional state and hormone levels to match. The beauty of this approach is its immediacy. While many confidence-building strategies take weeks or months to show results, physical adjustments create instant shifts in both how you feel and how others perceive you. You can literally walk into a room differently 5 minutes from now and experience a measurable change in your confidence levels. But here's what's really fascinating. When you maintain these physical adjustments consistently, they begin to rewire your neural pathways. What starts as conscious adjustment becomes your natural way of being. This is how temporary confidence becomes permanent presence. Think of it like learning to drive. At first, every movement requires conscious thought, but with practice, these actions become automatic. The same principle applies to confident body language. Through consistent practice, these physical patterns become your default setting, creating a natural confidence that requires no conscious effort to maintain. Your challenge today is to begin this physical rewiring process. Stand in front of a mirror and make these specific adjustments. Lengthen your spine as if a string were pulling you gently upward from the crown of your head. Roll your shoulders back and down, creating width across your collarbones. Lift your chin slightly so it's parallel to the floor. Allow your arms to hang relaxed at your sides, palms facing forward. Take 3 deep breaths from your diaphragm. Hold this position for 2 minutes while maintaining a relaxed facial expression. Notice how this position feels different from your usual posture. Pay attention to any shifts in your emotional state. This is your new power position, your physical reset button for instant confidence. Practice it every morning this week, and notice how it begins to influence every interaction in your day. Chapter 9. Vocal Power. Close your eyes for a moment. Listen to these 2 versions of the same message. Version 1, spoken quickly with rising inflection. Hi, I'm here to present our quarterly results. I think you'll find them interesting. Version 2, slower, deeper, with measured pace. I'm here to share our quarterly results. What you're about to see will transform how we approach next year. The difference is striking, isn't it? Same words, radically different impact. This isn't just about communication, it's about how your voice shapes both your internal confidence and others' perception of your capabilities. Every time you speak, you're not just conveying information. You're broadcasting your level of self-trust to the world, and more importantly, to yourself. The science behind vocal confidence is fascinating. Research shows that the human brain makes judgments about someone's competence and authority within the first 0.2 seconds of hearing their voice. These instant assessments happen before our conscious mind even processes the words being spoken. But here's the powerful twist. These vocal qualities don't just affect how others perceive you. They fundamentally alter your own psychological state. Few stories illustrate the transformative power of voice more compellingly than Morgan Freeman's journey. Long before he became the voice of God in Hollywood, Freeman struggled with a higher-pitched, faster-paced speaking style that undermined his acting aspirations. Early in his career, casting directors would praise his talent, but hesitate to cast him in authoritative roles. Rather than accepting this limitation, Freeman embarked on a deliberate journey to develop what would become one of the most recognizable and trusted voices in entertainment. The pivotal moment came during his time working as a transcript clerk in Los Angeles. Freeman noticed how different voices in the office commanded varying levels of attention and respect. He began studying the mechanics of authoritative speech, particularly focusing on a senior executive whose deep, measured tones seemed to naturally command the room. Freeman's approach was methodical. He started recording himself reading newspaper articles, analyzing every aspect of his voice. He discovered that his natural tendency to speak quickly was creating an unconscious signal of nervousness. More importantly, he realized that his breath patterns were shallow, preventing him from accessing his voice's full resonance. Working with a voice coach, Freeman learned to harness what he called his chest voice, the deeper, more resonant tones that come from proper breath support. He practiced speaking at roughly 70% of his usual pace, allowing each word to carry its full weight. The transformation wasn't just technical, it was psychological. As Freeman later shared in interviews, "When I learned to trust my voice, to really let it resonate, I started trusting myself more deeply too." The breakthrough came during a theater production where Freeman was understudying for a major role. When the lead actor fell ill, Freeman stepped in, employing his newly developed vocal presence. The audience's response was immediate and powerful. Critics noted his commanding presence and authoritative delivery. What they didn't know was that this wasn't just natural talent. It was the result of deliberate practice in understanding how voice shapes both perception and self-confidence. Freeman's dedication to vocal mastery continued throughout his career. Even after achieving success, he maintained specific practices, speaking at a measured pace of about 120 words per minute, significantly slower than average conversation, allowing strategic pauses for emphasis, and always speaking from his diaphragm rather than his throat. These weren't just performance techniques. They became fundamental tools for building and maintaining confidence in any situation. The voice-confidence connection has scientific backing. Lower-pitched, resonant speech increases testosterone and decreases cortisol, while slower speaking activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing anxiety. Consider Luna, a marketing manager who transformed her career through vocal training. Though strategically skilled, her fast, high-pitched delivery undermined her impact until she recorded herself and recognized she rushed through presentations, using uptalk that weakened her message. She created a confidence voice protocol, spending 10 minutes daily on breathing and vocal exercises. Her elevator practice involved using private elevator rides to transition between her regular and leadership voices. The results emerged gradually but significantly. Colleagues engaged more deeply with her ideas, and she felt more aligned with her expertise. When asked to present at an industry conference, her new vocal confidence led to success and additional speaking opportunities. To develop your own vocal confidence, focus on 4 key elements. Pitch. Find your natural speaking level through humming. Pace. Aim for 120 to 150 words per minute with strategic pauses. Resonance. Speak from your chest, not throat. Breath support. Use diaphragmatic breathing. For immediate improvement, try the 2-minute voice transform. Record yourself discussing a passion project, then re-record with these adjustments. Slow to 70% speed. Use chest resonance. End statements definitively. Include strategic pauses. Compare recordings to understand how vocal adjustments affect both your projection and internal confidence. Chapter 10. Social Confidence. Secrets. What if I told you that the butterflies in your stomach before walking into a room full of strangers aren't your enemy, but actually your secret weapon? That racing heart, those sweaty palms, they're not signs of weakness. They're indicators that your body is preparing for peak performance, just like an athlete before a big game. The anxiety you feel in social situations isn't a flaw to fix. It's raw energy waiting to be channeled into magnetic charisma. Most people spend years trying to eliminate social anxiety, never realizing they're fighting against one of their greatest potential assets. The key isn't to become fearless. It's to transform that nervous energy into authentic social power. This isn't just motivational talk. It's backed by fascinating evolutionary psychology that explains why our social instincts developed this way. Will Smith's journey from West Philadelphia to global superstardom provides a masterclass in this transformation. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most charismatic figures, Smith struggled with intense social anxiety. In his early teens, he was often paralyzed by fear before social interactions, especially when trying to connect with new people or perform in front of others. What's particularly interesting about Smith's story is how he deliberately reframed his nervous energy. Instead of trying to eliminate it, he developed what he called his fear-to-power conversion system. Before performances with DJ Jazzy Jeff, Smith would experience such intense anxiety that he'd sometimes feel physically ill. Rather than fighting these sensations, he started viewing them as his body's way of preparing him for peak performance. The fear is like rocket fuel, Smith later explained in interviews. The key is not getting rid of the fear. The key is learning to dance with it. He began implementing specific techniques before social interactions. When his heart would race before a performance, instead of interpreting it as anxiety, he'd tell himself, "My body is charging up for something amazing." This simple reframe began changing his entire relationship with social situations. Smith developed a 3-part system. First, he'd acknowledge the nervous energy without judgment. Second, he'd channel it into heightened awareness of others rather than self-consciousness. Third, he'd focus on genuine connection rather than perfect performance. This approach led to what many now consider natural charisma, but it was actually a carefully cultivated skill. The science behind this approach is fascinating. Research shows that social anxiety triggers the same physiological responses as excitement. The only difference is our interpretation. When we label these sensations as anxiety, we create a self-fulfilling prophecy of discomfort. When we reframe them as social energy, they become a source of power. Let's look at how Remy applied these principles to transform his social life. Remy used to avoid networking events entirely, convinced he was just not a people person. The turning point came when he learned about the energy conversion technique during a professional development workshop. Instead of trying to become less nervous, Remy started viewing his social anxiety as enhanced awareness. He noticed that his heightened state actually made him more attuned to others' body language and vocal tones, a valuable skill in social situations. He began with small experiments, like reframing his racing heart as social excitement before team meetings. The breakthrough moment came when Remy volunteered to organize a small tech meetup. Rather than aiming for perfect social performance, he focused on creating genuine connections. He used his natural analytical skills to break down social interactions into manageable components, asking open-ended questions, practicing active listening, and sharing relevant experiences. What started as a terrifying challenge became a monthly event that attracted over 100 regular attendees. Remy discovered that his previous social anxiety had transformed into an ability to sense when others felt uncomfortable and help them integrate into conversations, a skill that made him an exceptional community builder. The key elements of Remy's transformation included: this brings us to your challenge. Instead of trying to eliminate social anxiety, I want you to experiment with redirecting it. Here's your 24-hour mission. The next time you feel those familiar butterflies before a social interaction, whether it's a meeting, a phone call, or even ordering coffee, implement the energy conversion technique. Take 3 deep breaths and mentally say, "This energy is preparing me to connect powerfully with others." Then, focus on one specific aspect of the other person, their tone of voice, their expression, or what they're passionate about. Remember, the goal isn't to perform perfectly or to feel completely calm. The goal is to channel your natural social energy into genuine connection. After the interaction, note how this simple reframe affected your experience. You might be surprised to discover that what you once saw as your greatest social weakness is actually your hidden superpower. Chapter 11. The Art of Becoming Unshakable. Picture the scene. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, 4.2 seconds left on the clock. Stephen Curry stands at the free throw line, his team down by 1 point. The weight of an entire season, an entire legacy, rests on these 2 shots. The crowd roars, opponents try to distract him, but Curry's routine remains unchanged. His breathing stays steady, his movements precise. Swish. The first shot falls perfectly. Swish. The second follows with equal precision. In that pressure cooker moment, Curry's confidence didn't just survive, it thrived. But this kind of unshakable confidence isn't limited to elite athletes. It's a capability you can develop, regardless of your starting point or circumstances. The key lies in understanding that true confidence isn't about feeling invincible. It's about remaining centered even when everything around you is chaos. No one embodies this truth more powerfully than Nelson Mandela. During his 27 years of imprisonment on Robben Island, Mandela faced conditions designed to break not just his body, but his spirit. Confined to a tiny cell, forced to perform hard labor in a limestone quarry, and subjected to regular humiliation, Mandela had every external reason to lose his sense of self-worth and purpose. Yet something remarkable happened. Instead of allowing his circumstances to define his internal state, Mandela developed what he called his inner garden, a psychological space where his dignity and self-belief remained untouchable, regardless of external conditions. Each morning in his cell, Mandela would perform a specific ritual. He would stand at attention, dress in his imaginary best suit, and mentally walk through the streets of a free South Africa. This wasn't mere daydreaming. It was a deliberate practice of anchoring his confidence in something deeper than his current reality. In prison, my anger toward whites decreased, but my hatred for the system grew, Mandela later wrote. I wanted South Africa to see that I loved even my enemies, while I hated the system that turned us against one another. This distinction between circumstantial challenges and core self-worth became the foundation of his unshakable presence. Mandela developed specific practices to maintain his psychological strength. He would teach fellow inmates, turning the prison into an informal university. He maintained a rigorous exercise routine, using physical discipline to reinforce mental resilience. Most importantly, he practiced what he called strategic optimism, the ability to acknowledge current hardships while maintaining absolute certainty in eventual triumph. This brings us to a crucial insight about unshakable confidence. It's not about ignoring challenges or maintaining artificial positivity. It's about developing deep psychological anchors that keep you steady regardless of external storms. Consider Theo, a senior marketing executive who faced his own test of confidence during the economic upheaval of 2020. After 15 years building a successful career in traditional marketing, his industry transformed virtually overnight. Companies were slashing budgets, his role became increasingly precarious, and the skills he'd relied on seemed suddenly obsolete. The hardest part wasn't the external changes, Theo recalls. It was maintaining belief in myself when everything I'd built my professional identity around was shifting. Like many, his initial response was to grip tighter to what he knew, to try to wait out the storm. But as weeks turned to months, he realized he needed a different approach. Drawing inspiration from Mandela's example, Theo developed what he called his confidence bedrock, core anchors of self-trust that remained stable regardless of circumstances. First, he identified his transferable strengths, his ability to understand human behavior, his skill in strategic thinking, and his capacity for rapid learning. These became his psychological foundation. Next, Theo created a morning ritual that would make Mandela proud. Before checking any news or emails, he would spend 20 minutes in what he called his capability space, reviewing past successes, visualizing future achievements, and connecting with his core strengths. This wasn't about ignoring reality, but about approaching challenges from a place of psychological strength. The turning point came when Theo realized that true confidence isn't about knowing the path. It's about trusting your ability to find one. He began treating his career transition as a laboratory for growth rather than a crisis to survive. Each setback became data, each challenge an opportunity to demonstrate his adaptability. Over 6 months, Theo transitioned into digital marketing strategy, eventually launching his own consultancy. The skills were different, but the core confidence principles remained the same, he explains. Success isn't about never falling. It's about knowing you'll always find your feet. This brings us to your path toward unshakable confidence. The key lies in establishing what psychologists call internal locus of evaluation, anchoring your self-trust in elements you can control rather than external circumstances. The research is clear. Confidence that depends on constant success is fragile. True psychological stability comes from developing what we call deep anchors, fundamental beliefs about your capabilities that remain steady, regardless of temporary setbacks. Here's your visualization exercise for establishing these anchors. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted for the next 5 minutes. Close your eyes and bring to mind 3 moments in your life where you faced significant challenges and emerged stronger. For each memory, identify the specific internal quality that helped you prevail. Perhaps it was resilience, creativity, or determination. Now imagine these qualities as roots extending deep into the earth beneath you. Feel how they stabilize you, how they remain unchanged regardless of what storms may come. This is your confidence bedrock, not based on constant success, but on your proven ability to navigate life's challenges. When you open your eyes, write down these 3 qualities. These become your go-to anchors when facing uncertainty. The next time you encounter a challenging situation, consciously connect to these roots before taking action. Remember, unshakable confidence isn't about never feeling fear or doubt. It's about having such deep trust in your fundamental capabilities that temporary setbacks can't destabilize your core self-belief. Just as Mandela maintained his dignity through decades of imprisonment, and just as Theo found his footing in career upheaval, you have the capacity to develop confidence that transcends circumstances. Your challenge now is to begin strengthening these psychological anchors. Tonight, before you sleep, take 5 minutes to practice the visualization exercise described above. Pay special attention to how your body feels when connected to these deep sources of confidence. This physical memory becomes another anchor you can return to in challenging moments. Chapter 12. Emotional Mastery. Here's a paradox that might surprise you. Your greatest source of confidence lies hidden within the very feelings you've been taught to suppress. That flutter in your stomach before a big presentation, that moment of self-doubt before taking a leap. These aren't weaknesses to overcome, but powerful allies waiting to be understood. The neuroscience is fascinating. When you try to appear invulnerable, your brain actually enters a state of heightened stress, draining the very cognitive resources you need for peak performance. But when you embrace vulnerability, something remarkable happens. Your nervous system relaxes, your thinking becomes clearer, and authentic confidence naturally emerges. Lady Gaga's journey offers a masterclass in this counterintuitive truth. Early in her career, she struggled with panic attacks and anxiety that threatened to derail her performances. Instead of fighting these emotions or trying to project an image of unshakable confidence, she made a radical choice. She began speaking openly about her struggles with mental health, body image, and self-doubt. "I used to think vulnerability was weakness," she revealed in a 2020 interview. "But when I started sharing my struggles with my audience, something magical happened. Not only did my connection with them deepen, but I found a new kind of strength. One that came from being authentically myself, imperfections and all." This transparency became her superpower. During her 2017 Joanne World Tour, she would often pause between songs to share her emotional struggles with the audience. Rather than diminishing her presence, these moments of vulnerability created an electric connection with her fans and fueled performances of unprecedented power. Her confidence wasn't despite her emotional openness, it was because of it. The science behind this transformation is clear. When you acknowledge and process emotions rather than suppressing them, you activate your brain's prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for emotional regulation and decision-making. This creates what neuroscientists call emotional coherence, a state where your internal experience and external expression align, freeing up massive amounts of mental energy previously spent maintaining a facade. Consider Jin, a third-year surgical resident who struggled with performance anxiety during complex procedures. Initially, Jin tried to suppress these feelings, believing that real surgeons don't get nervous. But the more he fought against his anxiety, the more it intensified, sometimes causing his hands to shake at crucial moments. Everything changed when Jin's mentor shared an unexpected perspective. The best surgeons aren't the ones who feel no fear. They're the ones who understand their fear and use it to heighten their focus. This insight sparked a transformation in Jin's approach. Instead of trying to eliminate anxiety, Jin began what he called emotional check-ins before each procedure. He would take 30 seconds to acknowledge his nervous energy, understanding it as his body's way of preparing for an important task. He developed a simple ritual, placing his hand on his chest, naming the emotion, "I feel nervous because this matters," and consciously redirecting that energy into heightened awareness and precision. The results were remarkable. Not only did Jin's technical performance improve, but his confidence grew exponentially. "I realized that confidence isn't about feeling no fear," he reflected. "It's about having a healthy relationship with all your emotions, including the uncomfortable ones." This brings us to a crucial understanding. Emotional mastery isn't about controlling or eliminating feelings. It's about developing a sophisticated relationship with your emotional landscape. Think of emotions as messengers carrying important information about what matters to you. Anxiety often signals that you're pushing beyond your comfort zone, which is essential for growth. Self-doubt can indicate areas where you need to build more expertise or preparation. The key is learning to decode these emotional messages rather than being hijacked by them. When you feel imposter syndrome creeping in before a big presentation, instead of trying to suppress it, get curious about it. What's it telling you about what matters to you? How can you channel that energy into better preparation or deeper connection with your audience? Your challenge for today is simple but profound. Create an emotional intelligence journal. For the next 24 hours, whenever you notice a feeling that typically drains your confidence, anxiety, self-doubt, fear, take 30 seconds to write down 3 things. 1. The specific emotion you're feeling. 2. What triggered it. And 3. What this emotion might be trying to tell you about what matters to you. Don't try to change anything yet. Just observe and record with curiosity rather than judgment. This practice begins rewiring your brain's relationship with challenging emotions, transforming them from confidence blockers into valuable sources of information and energy. Remember, the goal isn't to feel perfectly confident. It's to build a confident relationship with all of your emotions, even the uncomfortable ones. Chapter 13. Professional Presence. 2 conference rooms, 2 very different futures unfolding. In Room A, you're shrinking into your chair as the executive team debates a critical project decision. Your insights remain trapped behind hesitation, your expertise muted by self-doubt. The moment passes, and with it goes an opportunity to shape the company's direction. In Room B, you're leaning forward slightly, voice steady as you articulate a perspective that shifts the entire conversation. The room's energy changes. People are nodding, taking notes, building on your ideas. Same expertise, same knowledge, but a completely different outcome through the power of professional presence. The difference between these scenarios isn't talent or capability. It's the specific way you show up and own your space in professional settings. This is what Indra Nooyi understood intrinsically during her remarkable ascent from middle-class Madras to the pinnacle of global business leadership at PepsiCo. Early in her career at Boston Consulting Group, Nooyi faced a pivotal challenge. As the only woman of color in most rooms, she noticed how traditional corporate presence often meant conforming to a narrow model of leadership behavior. Rather than mimicking others, she made a bold choice to develop what she called her integrated presence, combining sharp business acumen with authentic cultural elements and genuine warmth. One particular incident crystallized this approach. During a high-stakes client presentation, instead of adopting the standard corporate demeanor, she drew upon her experience singing in an Indian rock band to command the room with dynamic energy and storytelling. The presentation was a massive success, not despite, but because of her unique presence. I learned that confidence in professional settings isn't about fitting into someone else's template, Nooyi later reflected. It's about thoughtfully bringing your whole self to each situation, while maintaining unwavering professional standards. This philosophy guided her through increasingly senior roles, ultimately leading to her transformational 12-year tenure as PepsiCo's CEO. Nui developed specific practices that anyone can adapt to build commanding professional presence. She prepared extensively for every meeting, but remained flexible enough to read the room and adjust her approach in real time. She mastered what she called presence calibration, knowing when to dial up authority and when to emphasize collaboration. Most importantly, she treated presence as a skill to be continuously refined rather than a fixed trait. This brings us to Adrian, a brilliant engineer at a rapidly growing tech company. Despite consistently delivering exceptional code, Adrian struggled to gain recognition or influence beyond his immediate team. His technical insights often went unheard in cross-functional meetings, and they were passed over for leadership opportunities despite his expertise. The turning point came during a critical system outage. While other engineers frantically debated solutions in a war room, Adrian noticed a pattern in the error logs that everyone else had missed. Instead of quietly fixing the issue or timidly suggesting their solution, he used a technique called confident framing to present his insight. Standing up and moving to the whiteboard, Adrian began. "I've identified the root cause, and I can walk us through both the problem and solution in 3 clear steps." This simple shift in presentation immediately commanded attention. They maintained steady eye contact while explaining the technical details, used deliberate pauses for emphasis, and concluded with a clear action plan. The impact was immediate and lasting. Not only was his solution implemented, but this moment became a template for how Adrian showed up in all professional situations. He developed a systematic approach to building situational presence. Before important meetings, he would take 5 minutes to center themselves and review his key points. During discussions, he learned to claim his space through both physical presence, sitting up straight, maintaining open body language, and vocal presence, speaking in measured tones, eliminating qualifier words like just and maybe. Most importantly, Adrian mastered the art of presence bridges, smooth transitions between different professional contexts. He learned to adjust his presence from deep technical discussions with fellow engineers to high-level strategy meetings with executives, maintaining authenticity while adapting to each audience. Within 6 months, Adrian was leading major technical initiatives and mentoring other engineers in both technical skills and professional presence. His transformation highlighted a crucial truth. Professional confidence isn't about personality type or position. It's about specific practices that anyone can master. Your challenge this week is to identify one professional situation where you typically hold back, then create and execute a presence plan. Choose a specific upcoming meeting or interaction where you want to show up differently. Write down the specific outcome you want to achieve. 3 concrete presence practices you'll implement: voice, body language, or communication style. 1. Presence bridge you'll need to cross, like transitioning from technical details to strategic impact. Execute this plan within the next 5 workdays, then spend 10 minutes reflecting on what worked and what you'll adjust next time. Remember, professional presence isn't built in one moment. It's developed through consistent, intentional practice in real-world situations. Chapter 14. Relationship confidence. You stand in your kitchen, finally voicing long-held words. I need to set a clear boundary. Your confident delivery reveals how self-assurance transforms both self-perception and relationships. The tension in your shoulders releases as you recognize this moment of growth, one where your authentic voice emerges stronger and clearer than before. Many think boundaries harm relationships, sacrificing needs for peace. But what if confidence actually strengthens connections? The truth is, genuine relationships thrive on mutual respect and clear communication, not silent compromises that breed resentment. Consider Michelle Yeoh's Hollywood journey. Initially, directors labeled her too Asian, pushing her toward stereotypes. Instead of conforming, she advocated for authentic Asian representation, declining typecast roles. Though this temporarily limited opportunities, her confidence attracted collaborators who valued authenticity, leading to her Oscar-winning role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Her unwavering self-trust opened doors to deeper, more meaningful creative partnerships. "When you truly own who you are," Yeoh said, "you give others permission to do the same." These words echo the fundamental truth about authentic relationships. They begin with honoring ourselves. Take Taylor, a people-pleasing marketing executive. When her sister demanded excessive moving help, Taylor set clear limits instead of reluctantly agreeing. Surprisingly, this directness earned respect and became her model for all relationships. The initial discomfort of speaking up transformed into a foundation of mutual understanding. Taylor developed a three-part approach that revolutionized her interactions. First, pause to assess genuine feelings, allowing space for true emotions to surface. Next, express needs with compassionate directness, choosing words that honor both self and others. Finally, maintain boundaries consistently, recognizing that real change requires steady commitment. This transformation deepened her relationships profoundly. Colleagues respected her time, friends appreciated honesty, and family dynamics improved. The authentic connections that emerged proved far more fulfilling than the superficial harmony of people-pleasing. Relationship confidence works through an interconnected system. Self-trust forms the foundation, clear expression builds the framework, and boundary maintenance reinforces the structure. These elements create a reinforcing cycle, strengthening connections through authenticity while maintaining healthy limits. Your task: examine 3 key relationships. For each, identify a needed boundary that you've hesitated to set, how to express it confidently while honoring the relationship, and one specific action to maintain it consistently. This isn't about creating walls. It's about building bridges that respect both sides. Remember, relationship confidence grows through small, consistent choices that honor both yourself and others. Each time you choose authenticity over accommodation, you strengthen not only your own self-trust, but the quality of your connections. Chapter 15. Decision-making confidence. You stare at your phone, thumb hovering over the accept button for a job offer that could change everything. Your heart races as competing voices fill your mind, one urging you to take the leap, another listing all the ways it could go wrong. This moment of decision paralysis feels familiar, doesn't it? The weight of uncertainty pressing down, making even breathing feel like a conscious choice. But what if I told you this very moment of uncertainty could become your gateway to unshakable confidence? Most people believe confident decision-making means feeling absolutely certain about your choices. This misconception keeps countless talented individuals trapped in analysis paralysis, waiting for a clarity that never comes. The truth is far more liberating. Confident decision-making isn't about eliminating uncertainty. It's about embracing it as part of the process. Consider Satya Nadella's early days as Microsoft's CEO in 2014. He inherited a company losing ground to competitors, with a culture many considered toxic. The safe choice would have been incremental changes, avoiding major disruptions. Instead, Nadella made bold decisions that seemed counterintuitive at the time. He embraced cloud computing when many still doubted its potential, shifted from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all culture, and even made Microsoft's software available on competing platforms like iOS and Android. "The first decision I made as CEO was to change our mission," Nadella revealed. "Not because the old one was wrong, but because we needed a North Star that would inspire us to think differently." This wasn't just about technology. It was about transforming how an entire organization approached decision-making. Under his leadership, Microsoft's stock price increased over 600%. but more importantly, the company rediscovered its innovative spirit. The key wasn't that Nadella had perfect foresight. He didn't. What set him apart was his ability to make confident decisions while acknowledging uncertainty, a principle I call decisive flexibility. This approach combines unwavering commitment to action with the wisdom to adjust course based on new information. Let's look at Morgan, a marketing professional who spent years paralyzed by career decisions. Every opportunity felt like a potential mistake, leading to countless declined promotions and missed chances. The turning point came when Morgan learned to reframe decision-making from finding the perfect choice to making confident progress. Morgan developed a three-step process. First, clearly defining what success looked like for any decision, regardless of outcome. Second, gathering key information while setting strict time limits on research to avoid analysis paralysis. Finally, making decisions with full commitment while maintaining flexibility about the path forward. Using this framework, Morgan finally accepted a role leading a new digital marketing initiative. Yes, uncertainty remained, but now it felt like an adventure rather than a threat. When challenges arose, Morgan approached them with the same confident flexibility, adjusting strategies while maintaining unwavering commitment to the overall direction. The results transformed not just Morgan's career, but his entire approach to life. Team members noted how Morgan's decisive confidence inspired his own growth, creating a ripple effect of positive change throughout the organization. This reveals a crucial truth about confident decision-making. It's not about having all the answers, but about trusting your ability to handle whatever comes next. Think of it like driving at night. You can't see the entire journey, but you can confidently navigate the road illuminated by your headlights. Knowing each mile forward reveals the next stretch of path. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. Research shows that decision-making activates both the emotional, limbic, and rational, prefrontal cortex parts of our brain. The key to confident decisions isn't suppressing either part but integrating them. This explains why trying to be purely logical often leads to paralysis. You're fighting against your brain's natural decision-making process. Instead, successful decision-makers develop what I call the confidence-clarity loop. Each decision made with committed flexibility builds trust in your judgment, making future decisions easier. This creates an upward spiral where confidence and clarity reinforce each other, gradually eliminating decision paralysis. Here's your challenge. Identify one decision you've been postponing due to uncertainty. Using the principles from this chapter, commit to making that decision within the next 48 hours. Follow these steps. Write down your definition of success for this decision, independent of the specific outcome. Set a firm 30-minute timer for gathering any final information you need. Make your choice with full commitment, while acknowledging you can adjust your approach as you move forward. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate uncertainty, it's to move forward confidently despite it. Your ability to make decisions under uncertainty is like a muscle that strengthens with use. Each time you choose action over paralysis, you're not just making a decision, you're building the confidence that will transform every future choice. Chapter 16. Public Speaking Power. Your heart pounds against your chest, palms sweaty, breath shallow. You peek through the curtain at the audience gathering for your presentation. In this moment, that familiar voice whispers, "What if you freeze? What if you forget everything? What if they see right through you? But what if I told you that this racing heart, these sweaty palms, these aren't signs of weakness, but the raw materials of extraordinary stage presence?" Most people misinterpret their body's pre-speaking response as fear or inadequacy. This fundamental misunderstanding keeps countless talented individuals from sharing their voice with the world. The truth is both simpler and more powerful. That surge of energy you're feeling isn't your enemy. It's your ally waiting to be channeled. Take Tony Robbins' remarkable journey. Long before he was commanding stages worldwide, Robbins was a janitor living in a 400-square-foot apartment in Venice Beach, California. He discovered his passion for helping others while working as a seminar promoter for Jim Rohn, but his early speaking attempts were far from polished. Robbins experienced such intense anxiety before presentations that he would often become physically ill. The turning point came when Robbins realized something profound. The physical symptoms of fear and excitement are identical. The racing heart, the heightened awareness, the surge of energy. These same responses that felt debilitating could become rocket fuel for dynamic performance. He began systematically reframing his pre-speaking response, not as anxiety to be eliminated, but as power to be harnessed. I started treating every presentation as a gift, Robbins shared. Instead of trying to be perfect, I focused on being present and serving the audience. This shift changed everything. He developed specific techniques for channeling nervous energy into passionate delivery, transforming his natural intensity into a magnetic stage presence that would eventually impact millions. This wasn't just about positive thinking. Robbins created a systematic approach to speaking mastery. He studied patterns of human engagement, practiced relentlessly, and developed what he calls state management, the ability to access peak emotional states on command. Today, he can hold audiences of thousands spellbound for hours, not because he eliminated nervous energy, but because he learned to direct it purposefully. The science behind this transformation is fascinating. Research shows that when we label our pre-speaking response as anxiety, we activate the threat response in our amygdala, triggering a cascade of performance-limiting reactions. However, when we reframe that same physiological response as excitement or readiness, we engage our prefrontal cortex differently, accessing our full cognitive and creative resources. Let's look at Blake, an IT guy who struggled with severe stage fright. Technical presentations would leave him sleepless for days before, often leading to last-minute excuses to avoid speaking entirely. The breakthrough came when Blake learned about the performance activation response, understanding that his physical symptoms weren't warning signs of impending failure, but preparation for peak performance. Blake began implementing a systematic approach to transforming his speaking presence. First, he created a pre-speaking ritual that embraced rather than fought against his body's natural energy surge. This included power poses backstage, strategic breathing exercises, and what Blake called his energy conversion moment, consciously redirecting nervous energy into enthusiastic delivery. Instead of trying to memorize presentations perfectly, Blake focused on mastering his material's core message and structure, allowing for more natural and engaging delivery. He practiced regularly in low-stakes situations, gradually building confidence through consistent exposure rather than avoiding speaking opportunities. The results were transformative. Within 6 months, Blake went from dreading team updates to volunteering for company-wide presentations. His authentic, energized speaking style connected with audiences in ways his previous attempts at perfect delivery never had. Colleagues began requesting Blake specifically for client presentations, noting how his genuine enthusiasm made complex technical concepts accessible and engaging. The key wasn't becoming fearless, Blake reflected. It was understanding that the energy I was feeling could either paralyze me or propel me, and learning how to choose the latter. This reveals a crucial truth about speaking mastery. It's not about eliminating nervous energy, but about mastering its direction. Think of it like learning to sail. You don't control the wind, but you can learn to set your sails in ways that harness its power. The same energy that once pushed you off course can drive you forward with unprecedented force. The transformation from fear to flow in public speaking follows 3 core principles. First, embrace activation. Rather than fighting against your body's natural response, welcome it as preparation for peak performance. This mental shift alone can transform your speaking experience. Second, focus outward. When we're caught in speaking anxiety, we're typically trapped in self-focused thoughts. By redirecting attention to serving the audience, we naturally access more confident and authentic expression. Third, build through progressive exposure. Like any skill, speaking confidence grows through consistent practice in gradually expanding contexts. Each successful experience, no matter how small, builds neural pathways for more confident future performance. This approach works across all speaking contexts, from impromptu remarks to keynote presentations. The key is understanding that commanding presence isn't about perfection. It's about authentic connection powered by purposefully directed energy. Chapter 17. Negotiation Mastery. Your palms grow clammy as you sit across from your manager, the words, "I believe I deserve a raise," hanging in the air between you. The silence stretches uncomfortably as they study your face, and you feel that familiar urge to backtrack, to soften your stance, to apologize for even asking. But in this moment, something shifts. Instead of shrinking, you lean slightly forward, maintain steady eye contact, and let the silence work for you. This single confident move transforms the entire dynamic of the conversation. Most people view negotiation as combat, a high-stakes battle where confidence feels impossible because every interaction seems like a potential loss. This fundamental misunderstanding keeps countless talented individuals from claiming their true worth, not just in salary discussions, but in every area of life requiring advocacy and agreement. Look at Brian Stevenson's remarkable journey. Before founding the Equal Justice Initiative and becoming one of America's most influential advocates for criminal justice reform, Stevenson struggled with negotiation confidence. Early in his career, representing death row inmates in Alabama, he faced seemingly impossible negotiations with hostile prosecutors and skeptical judges. His initial attempts to advocate for his clients were met with dismissal and sometimes outright hostility. The turning point came when Stevenson realized something profound about negotiation psychology. "I understood that my confidence wasn't about convincing others I was right," he shared. "It was about maintaining unwavering belief in the possibility of finding common ground, even in the most challenging situations." This shift in perspective transformed his approach from adversarial to collaborative, while maintaining rock-solid conviction in his position. Stevenson developed what he called proximate confidence, the ability to stay fully present and self-assured while deeply understanding the other party's position. He began approaching each negotiation not as a battle to be won, but as an opportunity to build bridges while standing firmly in his truth. This approach led to breakthrough after breakthrough, eventually helping him win multiple cases before the Supreme Court and secure freedom for dozens of wrongly condemned prisoners. The science behind this transformation reveals why traditional negotiation advice often fails. Research shows that when we approach negotiations from a place of fear or defensive positioning, we activate our threat response system, limiting access to the very cognitive resources we need for creative problem-solving and persuasive communication. However, when we maintain what I call collaborative confidence, unwavering self-trust combined with genuine openness to mutual benefit, we engage our brain's executive functions more fully, enabling both stronger advocacy and better outcomes. Let's look at Jamie, a marketing professional who transformed from avoiding difficult conversations to masterfully negotiating major partnerships. Early in his career, Jamie would accept initial offers without discussion, fearing that any pushback would damage relationships or lose opportunities entirely. This changed when he learned about the confidence-competence loop in negotiation, understanding that confidence isn't just an outcome of successful negotiations, but a critical input that shapes how we prepare, engage, and respond throughout the process. Jamie began implementing a systematic approach to building negotiation confidence. First, he created what he called his worth ritual, a pre-negotiation practice that involved reviewing his value proposition and past successes, effectively anchoring his confidence in concrete evidence rather than emotional states. Instead of seeing negotiation as a zero-sum game, Jamie focused on understanding and articulating how his proposals created value for all parties involved. He practiced specific techniques for maintaining composure during high-pressure moments, including strategic pausing, confident body language, and what Jamie called his reset breath, a subtle but powerful way to maintain center when discussions became tense. The results were transformative. Within a year, Jamie had secured partnerships worth triple his previous deals, while actually strengthening rather than straining professional relationships. I realized that confident negotiation isn't about being aggressive or inflexible, Jamie reflected. It's about being so secure in your value that you can remain genuinely curious and collaborative while maintaining clear boundaries. This reveals a crucial truth about negotiation mastery. The most powerful tool isn't any specific tactic or technique, but the unshakable confidence that allows you to remain both firm and flexible, advocating strongly for your position while staying open to creative solutions. The transformation from negotiation anxiety to negotiation confidence follows three core principles. First, anchor in value. Before any negotiation, deeply understand and fully own your worth. This isn't about inflation or exaggeration, but about having complete clarity on the genuine value you bring to the table. Second, maintain proximate confidence. Stay fully present and self-assured while seeking to understand the other party's position deeply. This combination of strength and openness creates the conditions for breakthrough solutions. Third, focus on mutual benefit. True negotiation confidence comes from knowing that you're working toward outcomes that serve everyone involved, even while advocating firmly for your position. For your immediate application, I want you to choose one current situation in your life requiring negotiation, whether it's a work discussion, a personal boundary, or a business deal. Find a trusted friend or colleague and role-play the conversation twice. In the first round, approach it from your typical stance. In the second, consciously apply the principles of collaborative confidence we've discussed. Notice how this shift in approach changes both your experience and the potential outcomes. Chapter 18. Resilience Through Adversity. Imagine standing before a bamboo tree in its first year of growth. You water it faithfully, tend to the soil with care, yet see absolutely nothing happening above ground. The second year passes, then the third, and still no visible growth. Most people would have given up long ago, convinced their efforts were futile. But those who understand the bamboo tree's secret know something remarkable is happening beneath the surface. For 4 years, this extraordinary plant focuses entirely on developing an elaborate root system, an underground network so robust and intricate that it can support explosive growth when the moment arrives. Then, in the 5th year, something magical happens. The bamboo shoots up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. This isn't a miracle. It's the power of invisible preparation meeting the perfect moment. Your journey to unshakable confidence follows the same principle. While you might feel frustrated by seemingly slow progress, every challenge you face, every setback you endure, is actually strengthening your psychological root system in ways you can't yet see. Take a look at the extraordinary story of Malala Yousafzai. At age 15, she was shot in the head by Taliban gunmen for advocating girls' education in Pakistan's Swat Valley. This moment of unimaginable adversity could have silenced her forever. Instead, it became the catalyst for developing a level of confidence that would change the world. During her recovery, Malala didn't just heal physically. She was developing her own psychological root system. Each day of rehabilitation, each moment of facing her fears, strengthened her conviction. "The terrorists thought they would change my aims and stop my ambitions," she said. "But nothing changed in my life except this: weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage were born. This transformation wasn't instant. Like the bamboo tree, Malala's unshakable confidence grew through a period of invisible but crucial development. She used what I call adversity alchemy, transforming each challenge into fuel for greater strength. The very attempt to silence her amplified her voice. The effort to limit her reach expanded her influence globally. By age 17, she became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate in history, her confidence not despite her trauma, but partially because of how she transformed it. The science behind this phenomenon is fascinating. Research shows that adverse experiences, when processed with the right mindset and support, can actually strengthen neural pathways associated with resilience and confidence. This process, known as post-traumatic growth, explains why some people emerge from challenges not just recovered, but fundamentally stronger. Let me tell you about Phoenix, a small business owner who lost everything in a devastating hurricane. His store, home, and savings gone overnight. For many, this would be a confidence-shattering blow. But Phoenix understood something crucial about adversity. It reveals strengths you never knew you had. Instead of viewing the disaster as an ending, Phoenix saw it as an opportunity for transformation. He began by practicing what he called root-level thinking, focusing not on what was lost, but on what remained unshakable: his skills, relationships, and core values. Each day, he wrote down one thing he learned about his own resilience. Phoenix started small, rebuilding his business piece by piece, but with a completely new approach. He used his experience to connect more deeply with his community, transforming his business model to be more resilient and community-focused. Within 2 years, he had not only rebuilt, but expanded to 3 locations, employing other disaster survivors and creating a network of mutual support. The hurricane took everything I had, Phoenix reflected, but it gave me something I never expected: unshakable confidence in my ability to handle anything life throws at me. That's something no storm can wash away. This story illustrates a crucial truth about confidence through adversity. It's not about avoiding challenges, but about developing what I call your resilience roots, the psychological infrastructure that turns setbacks into strength. Just like the bamboo tree's invisible but crucial root system, these mental and emotional foundations determine how high you can ultimately grow. The process of adversity alchemy follows 3 key principles. First, embrace the underground phase. Understand that periods of apparent non-progress are often when you're developing your most crucial strength. During these times, focus on building your psychological root system through reflection, learning, and small consistent actions. Second, practice intentional reframing. Every setback contains within it the seeds of greater confidence. Your job is to find them. Ask yourself, what is this challenge teaching me about my own strength? How can this difficulty become a foundation for future growth? Third, maintain growth perspective. Like the bamboo tree, breakthrough moments often appear sudden, but are actually the result of long-term preparation. Trust that your consistent efforts, even when progress isn't visible, are building towards significant growth. Your challenge now is to identify your 3 most significant setbacks and transform them through adversity alchemy. For each one, write down what this challenge revealed about your strength, what specific skills or resilience you developed because of it, how you can use this experience to fuel your confidence going forward. Remember, like the bamboo tree, your greatest growth may be happening beneath the surface right now. Trust the process, water your roots daily with small actions, and prepare for the moment when your confidence shoots skyward, strong enough to withstand any storm because of the invisible work you're doing today. Chapter 19. The Confidence-Competence Loop. Here's a truth that might surprise you. Confidence times competence equals impact squared. This isn't just clever mathematics. It's the hidden equation behind every extraordinary achievement. Most people focus on one or the other, but it's the multiplication of these forces that creates exponential results. When you double your confidence alone, you double your impact. Double your competence alone, same result. But when you increase both simultaneously, your impact grows fourfold. This powerful relationship explains why some people seem to accelerate past their peers, even when starting from similar positions. They've discovered what I call the compound effect of confidence and competence, where each element fuels the other in an unstoppable upward spiral. We can all learn from Serena Williams' remarkable journey. While many focus on her natural talent, the real story of her success lies in how she deliberately built both confidence and competence from the very beginning. Growing up in Compton, California, Serena and her sister Venus practiced on public courts, where broken glass often had to be swept away before they could begin. Their father, Richard Williams, didn't just teach them tennis skills, he simultaneously installed an unshakable belief in their ability to become champions. Every morning at 6 a.m., young Serena would practice her serves, ground strokes, and footwork. But alongside these technical drills, she and her father would verbally rehearse press conferences for tournaments she hadn't yet won. While developing her backhand, she was also developing her belief system. This dual focus created a powerful feedback loop. As her skills improved, her confidence grew. As her confidence grew, she pushed herself to master even more challenging skills. "I am not the best player in the world just because I have raw talent," Serena once revealed. "I am the best player because I refuse to give up. My confidence comes from being prepared." This insight reveals how confidence and competence intertwine. Each practice session wasn't just about improving her technique, but about building the self-trust that would later help her win 23 Grand Slam singles titles. The science behind this phenomenon is fascinating. Research in performance psychology shows that confidence without competence leads to arrogance and eventual failure, while competence without confidence results in underperformance and missed opportunities. But when both elements grow together, they create what psychologists call a success spiral, where each small win builds both capability and self-trust, accelerating overall growth. This principle isn't limited to sports. Take River, a recent coding bootcamp graduate who transformed from complete beginner to senior developer in just 3 years, a journey that typically takes twice as long. River's secret? Understanding that technical skills alone weren't enough. "I noticed that many of my fellow bootcamp graduates were focusing solely on coding skills," River shared. "But I realized that confidence in applying those skills was equally important. Instead of just learning programming languages, River developed what they called a confidence-competence matrix, deliberately choosing projects and challenges that would build both technical expertise and self-trust simultaneously. For example, when tackling a new programming framework, River wouldn't just complete tutorials. They would immediately volunteer to present what they learned to their team, forcing themselves to develop both technical mastery and presentation confidence. When bugs appeared in production code, instead of hesitating to touch critical systems, River volunteered to lead the debugging effort, knowing that solving high-stakes problems would boost both their troubleshooting skills and their self-trust. This strategic approach led to a series of accelerated promotions. While others with similar technical skills waited to be noticed, River's confidence enabled them to take on leadership responsibilities and high-visibility projects. "Each time I pushed myself to operate at a higher level, my technical skills and my confidence grew together," River explained. "It wasn't always comfortable, but that discomfort was a sign I was growing in both dimensions." The key to creating your own confidence-competence loop lies in what I call strategic acceleration, identifying and focusing on the skills that create the greatest confidence boost while simultaneously building practical capability. This requires understanding three crucial principles. First, seek compound growth opportunities, activities that build both confidence and competence simultaneously. Instead of separating skill development from confidence building, look for challenges that naturally combine both. Second, embrace strategic discomfort. Deliberately choose projects slightly beyond your current capabilities. This sweet spot of challenge builds both technical skills and self-trust through progressive achievement. Third, document your growth journey. Keep a detailed record of both skill improvements and confidence breakthroughs. This creates tangible evidence of your progress, fueling further growth in both dimensions. Your challenge now is to create your own confidence-competence growth plan. Take out a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. In the first column, list 3 specific skills that would significantly impact your success in your chosen field. In the second column, write down how mastering each skill would boost your confidence. Then, for each skill, identify one specific project or challenge that would build both competence and confidence simultaneously. Remember, the key is to choose activities that stretch you in both dimensions: technical capability and self-trust. This isn't just another planning exercise. It's your blueprint for exponential impact. By deliberately growing both confidence and competence together, you're not just adding to your capabilities, you're multiplying your potential for extraordinary achievement. Chapter 20. Leadership Presence. Imagine standing in front of your team as an unexpected crisis unfolds. Every eye turns to you, searching for direction, stability, and confidence. In this moment, you discover a fundamental truth about leadership. Your confidence doesn't just affect you, it ripples through your entire team, either amplifying their potential or undermining their resolve. The ability to lead with genuine confidence is what separates truly transformational leaders from those who merely manage. Yet most leadership advice gets this backwards, focusing on external techniques while ignoring the internal foundation that makes authentic leadership possible. Bob Iger's remarkable journey from local TV weatherman to CEO of the Walt Disney Company. In 1974, Iger was working at ABC as a studio supervisor, making $150 a week doing menial tasks. He wasn't born with the gravitas to lead one of the world's largest entertainment companies. He developed it through what he calls confident authenticity. Early in his career, Iger faced a pivotal moment that would shape his leadership philosophy. During a live broadcast, major technical issues threatened to derail the entire production. As the most junior person in the room, conventional wisdom said he should wait for senior leaders to solve the problem. Instead, trusting his understanding of the technical systems and his problem-solving abilities, he stepped forward with a solution. I realized in that moment that leadership isn't about waiting for permission or having the highest title, Iger later reflected. It's about having the confidence to take action when action is needed, while staying true to who you are. This principle guided Iger through increasingly challenging leadership roles. When he became CEO of Disney in 2005, many doubted his ability to fill Michael Eisner's shoes. Rather than trying to imitate his predecessor's style, Iger leaned into his own strengths: his calm demeanor, strategic thinking, and ability to build trust through authentic relationships. His confidence in his approach was tested early when he made the bold decision to acquire Pixar for $7.4 billion, a move many considered too risky. The easy path would have been maintaining the status quo, Iger shared. But confident leadership isn't about taking the easy path. It's about having the courage to make difficult decisions while staying true to your vision. This authentic confidence proved transformative. Under Iger's leadership, Disney's market value increased from $48 billion to over $257 billion, driven by successful acquisitions of Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 21st Century Fox. Each move required not just strategic insight, but the confidence to make big bets while bringing others along on the journey. The science behind authentic leadership reveals why Iger's approach works so powerfully. Research shows that followers are exquisitely attuned to subtle signs of confidence, or lack thereof, in their leaders. When leaders try to project confidence they don't genuinely feel, it creates what psychologists call an authenticity gap, which actually undermines trust and engagement. This brings us to Dakota, a senior software engineer who struggled with the transition to team leadership. Despite technical expertise, Dakota initially tried to lead by mimicking other managers' authoritative styles, with disappointing results. "I felt like an imposter," Dakota shared. "I knew the technical aspects inside and out, but trying to be the kind of loud, commanding leader I thought I should be felt completely unnatural. My team could sense it, and it created distance rather than connection." Everything changed when Dakota discovered the principle of confident authenticity. Instead of trying to project an artificial leadership presence, Dakota began leading from a place of genuine self-trust, leveraging natural strengths like deep technical knowledge, thoughtful problem-solving, and genuine care for team members' growth. When a critical project faced serious technical challenges, rather than pretending to have all the answers, Dakota confidently acknowledged the complexity of the problem and engaged the team in collaborative problem-solving. "I realized that confident leadership isn't about knowing everything. It's about creating an environment where everyone's strengths can shine." This authentic approach transformed team dynamics. Engagement increased, innovation flourished, and the team began consistently exceeding expectations. "The more I trusted myself to lead in alignment with my true nature, the more my team trusted me," Dakota reflected. Through both these stories, we see how genuine leadership presence emerges from the intersection of self-trust and authentic expression. It's not about mimicking others or forcing an authoritative persona. It's about developing the confidence to lead from your unique strengths while inspiring others to do the same. This requires mastering what I call the 3 pillars of confident leadership. First, self-trust. Developing unshakable confidence in your ability to handle leadership challenges while staying true to your values. Second, authentic expression. Learning to communicate and make decisions in ways that align with your natural style while meeting the needs of your role. Third, inspirational impact. Using your genuine confidence to create an environment where others feel empowered to contribute their best work. Your challenge today is to practice confident authenticity in a specific leadership moment. Identify one situation in the next 24 hours where you need to demonstrate leadership, whether managing a team, leading a meeting, or simply taking initiative on a project. Instead of focusing on how you think a leader should act, commit to approaching the situation with genuine confidence in your unique strengths and style. Before the situation, take 5 minutes to write down what specific strengths you bring to this leadership moment, how you can authentically express those strengths while meeting the needs of the situation. One specific way you'll create space for others to shine. Remember, true leadership presence isn't about perfection. It's about having the confidence to be authentically yourself while bringing out the best in others. Your unique style of leadership, when expressed with genuine confidence, has the power to transform not just results, but the entire experience of work for those you lead. Chapter 21. Confident Creativity. You stand before a blank canvas, brush hovering uncertainly in your hand. The pristine white surface seems to mock you, each empty inch a reminder of all the ways you could fail. This moment, where possibility meets paralysis, isn't just about art. It's about every creative challenge you face, every innovative solution waiting to be born, every bold idea you've held back because that voice inside whispers, "What if it's not good enough?" The paralysis you feel in these moments isn't about lack of ability. It's about creative confidence. And understanding this distinction changes everything. We can all learn from Lin-Manuel Miranda's journey to creating Hamilton, arguably the most innovative musical of our time. Long before he revolutionized Broadway, Miranda was teaching high school English, carrying a kernel of an idea that most would have dismissed as absurd, telling America's founding story through hip-hop. The first time I shared the concept, Miranda recalls, people looked at me like I was crazy. A rap musical about Alexander Hamilton? It sounded ridiculous. But Miranda's creative confidence wasn't built on knowing his idea would succeed. It was built on trusting his creative process despite the uncertainty. The journey from that first idea to Hamilton's groundbreaking success reveals the true nature of creative confidence. Miranda spent years researching, writing, and rewriting. He performed the opening song at the White House in 2009, when the rest of the show was just possibilities in his mind. "I knew it might fail," he shares, "but I also knew that the only way to create something truly new was to risk that failure." The initial version of My Shot, now one of the show's most iconic songs, took Miranda an entire year to write. "Every couplet had to be perfect," he explains. "I was writing words that were going to come out of the mouth of Alexander Hamilton. How dare I do that unless they were perfect?" This perfectionism could have been paralyzing. Instead, Miranda's creative confidence allowed him to stay in the messy middle of the creative process, trusting that each revision, each struggle, was part of bringing something new into the world. Hamilton went on to win 11 Tony Awards and fundamentally change how we think about musical theater, historical storytelling, and the intersection of classical and contemporary art forms. Miranda's experience illustrates what I call creative courage, the ability to maintain confidence, not despite uncertainty, but because of it. True creative confidence isn't about knowing your ideas will succeed. It's about trusting your ability to navigate the creative process itself, with all its twists, turns, and inevitable moments of doubt. Notice how creative confidence operates on 3 key levels. Process trust, the ability to stay engaged and confident even when you can't see the final outcome clearly. Iteration, comfort, embracing multiple attempts and revisions as natural parts of creation rather than signs of failure. Possibility thinking, maintaining confidence in your ability to find solutions even when the path isn't clear. These principles apply whether you're writing a revolutionary musical, solving complex business challenges, or facing any situation that requires innovative thinking. Creative confidence isn't about knowing you'll succeed. It's about trusting your ability to navigate the creative journey. This is why traditional advice about creativity often fails. It focuses on techniques and tools while ignoring the fundamental need for creative confidence. Without this foundation, even the best creative methods become exercises in frustration rather than innovation. Here's your immediate creative challenge. Choose one problem or opportunity you're currently facing. It could be professional or personal, and commit to approaching it with creative confidence. But instead of trying to find the right answer immediately, you'll use what I call the blank canvas process. Spend exactly 10 minutes brainstorming potential approaches, giving yourself permission to include ideas that seem impractical or even impossible. The goal isn't to find the perfect solution, but to exercise your creative confidence muscle. From your list, select the idea that most excites or intrigues you, not necessarily the one that seems most practical. Spend 5 minutes expanding on this idea, asking, "What if?" rather than, "Why not?" The purpose isn't to solve your challenge in these 15 minutes, but to begin building the creative confidence that will ultimately lead to breakthrough solutions. Remember, every masterpiece begins with a blank canvas and the courage to make the first mark. Chapter 22. The Power of Confident Humility. Picture this. The CEO of a Fortune 500 tech company stands before their entire organization during a crucial all-hands meeting. Instead of delivering the expected success story, they say something unexpected. "I made a mistake. Our recent strategic direction was wrong, and I take full responsibility for that decision." The room falls silent, but what happens next transforms everyone's understanding of true confidence. Rather than losing respect, the leader's influence grows stronger. Their team's trust deepens. Their authority, paradoxically, becomes more powerful. This scene challenges everything you've been taught about confidence and leadership. You've likely been conditioned to believe that confidence means never showing weakness, that authority requires maintaining an image of infallibility. But what if the opposite were true? What if the highest form of confidence actually requires the courage to be humble? The intersection of confidence and humility creates what I call confident humility. Perhaps the most powerful and least understood form of self-trust. To understand this paradox, let's look at one of the most remarkable examples in modern leadership. Jacinda Ardern's journey from small-town New Zealand to becoming one of the world's most respected prime ministers. When Ardern took office at 37, she faced immediate skepticism. Too young, too inexperienced, too feminine. The critics were relentless. But rather than attempting to project an artificial toughness, Ardern embraced a leadership style that would redefine what confidence looks like on the world stage. During the Christchurch mosque shootings in 2019, Ardern demonstrated this powerful combination of strength and vulnerability. She didn't hide her emotions when meeting with victims' families, wearing a hijab in solidarity and openly sharing her grief. Yet simultaneously, she showed unwavering strength in taking immediate action on gun reform and confronting hate speech. "I refuse to believe that you cannot be both compassionate and strong," Ardern stated in a powerful address to Parliament. This wasn't just rhetoric. It was a demonstration of confident humility in action. When faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, she continued this approach, regularly admitting what she and her team didn't know, while maintaining absolute clarity about the principles guiding their decisions. "We're going to make mistakes," she acknowledged early in the crisis, "but we will learn from them quickly and adjust our approach." This transparency, rather than undermining her authority, enhanced it. New Zealand's successful handling of the pandemic became a global example of effective crisis leadership. The key insight from Ardern's journey is that confident humility isn't about diminishing yourself. It's about creating space for both strength and openness to coexist. This brings us to a powerful story of how this principle transforms not just nations, but organizations and teams. Meet Sage, a senior product manager at a rapidly growing software company. Sage had always been known for her brilliant technical mind and drive for perfection. Her team delivered results, but there was a problem. Innovation was stifling, and team burnout was high. Sage's need to appear infallible had created a culture where people were afraid to take risks or admit mistakes. "I thought confidence meant having all the answers," Sage recalls. "I worked so hard to maintain this image of perfect competence that I was actually holding my team back." The turning point came during a failed product launch that could have ended Sage's career. Instead of trying to deflect blame or make excuses, Sage chose a different approach. In a crucial team meeting, Sage acknowledged her role in the failure, sharing not just what went wrong, but her own learning process. "I was terrified," Sage admits. "I thought showing vulnerability would destroy my authority. Instead, it transformed our entire team dynamic." What happened next was remarkable. Team members began sharing their own insights and concerns more openly. Innovation flourished because people felt safe to experiment and learn from failures. Within 6 months, the team had not only recovered from the failed launch, but had developed 2 breakthrough features that would become company-wide successes. The irony is that by letting go of the need to appear perfect, I became a much more effective leader, Sage reflects. My confidence actually grew stronger because it was based on genuine self-awareness, rather than a carefully maintained facade. This transformation illustrates the three core principles of confident humility: strength and acknowledgement, understanding that admitting limitations and mistakes doesn't diminish your authority. It enhances it by demonstrating secure self-awareness, learning through openness, maintaining unwavering confidence in your ability to grow while staying genuinely open to feedback and new perspectives. Authentic authority, building influence through the genuine combination of self-trust and humility, rather than defensive displays of competence. The key is understanding that confidence and humility aren't opposing forces. They're complementary strengths that enhance each other. When you trust yourself enough to be humble, you create a form of confidence that others can't help but respect and trust in return. This brings us to your reflection exercise. Think of a current challenge where you've been trying to maintain an image of perfect confidence. It might be a professional situation where you feel pressure to have all the answers, or a personal relationship where admitting uncertainty feels threatening. Now, identify one specific opportunity in the next 24 hours where you could practice confident humility. Perhaps it's acknowledging a mistake to your team, asking for help with something you're struggling with, or simply admitting when you don't know something. The goal isn't to diminish your confidence, but to strengthen it through genuine openness. Write down exactly how you'll approach this situation, being specific about what you'll acknowledge or ask, how you'll balance this vulnerability with clear self-trust, what you hope this openness will create in terms of trust and connection. Remember, true confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being secure enough in yourself to embrace imperfection as part of growth. In doing so, you'll discover a form of confidence that's not just stronger, but more sustainable and inspiring to others. Chapter 23. Maintaining Peak Confidence. Picture an elite athlete's morning routine. Long before the world wakes up, they're already in motion, not just through physical training, but through a precise sequence of practices that maintain their peak performance. This isn't about random bursts of motivation or waiting for inspiration. It's about consistent, deliberate conditioning that creates sustainable excellence. Your confidence works exactly the same way. Most people treat confidence like a crash diet, seeking quick fixes and temporary boosts when they need it most. They ride waves of temporary highs followed by devastating lows, never understanding why they can't maintain that elusive state of unwavering self-trust. But there's a fundamental truth that changes everything. Sustainable confidence isn't an emotion to chase. It's a condition to maintain. To understand this principle in action, let's look at one of the most remarkable examples of sustained excellence in sports history, Roger Federer's journey to becoming not just a tennis champion, but a model of consistent confidence spanning decades. When Federer first emerged on the professional circuit, he was known for his explosive talent, but also for his emotional volatility. Early in his career, he would often break rackets and lose his composure during matches. The turning point came when he realized that true greatness wasn't about occasional brilliant performances. It was about maintaining consistent excellence through specific daily practices. People see the trophies and the perfect shots, Federer once shared, but they don't see the hours of routine maintenance that makes those moments possible. He developed what he called his confidence ecosystem, a carefully crafted set of daily practices that maintained his mental and physical peak, regardless of external circumstances. This wasn't just about tennis practice. Federer's routine included specific visualization exercises before dawn, carefully structured recovery periods, and regular mental conditioning work with his team. Even more revealing was his approach to losses and setbacks. Rather than allowing defeats to drain his confidence, he treated them as essential data for his maintenance system. What made Federer's approach revolutionary wasn't just the practices themselves, but his understanding that confidence required constant conditioning. He famously said, "The day you stop maintaining your confidence is the day it begins to fade, no matter how many victories you've had." This brings us to a powerful story of how these same principles transform lives far beyond the tennis court. Meet Jordan, a software developer who discovered how to maintain unwavering confidence through life's biggest transitions. Jordan had always been successful in his field, but like many high achievers, his confidence would fluctuate dramatically based on external circumstances. A challenging project would send them into self-doubt, while a success would temporarily boost his confidence, creating an exhausting emotional roller coaster. The breaking point came during a major career transition. Jordan was offered a leadership position that required moving across the country and building a team from scratch. Instead of relying on his usual pattern of pushing through with sheer willpower, he decided to approach confidence differently. "I realized I had been treating confidence like an emergency resource, something to tap into when I needed it most," Jordan recalls. "But watching how elite athletes maintained their performance helped me understand that I needed a daily confidence conditioning routine." Jordan developed what they called his confidence maintenance system, a specific set of practices performed at different intervals, daily, weekly, and monthly. Each morning began with a 10-minute visualization exercise focusing on past successes and future challenges. Weekly reviews included dedicated time for processing setbacks and extracting lessons without self-judgment. Monthly, they would step back to calibrate his confidence baseline and adjust his maintenance routine as needed. The results were transformative. When the inevitable challenges of building a new team arose, Jordan's confidence remained steady. When key projects hit obstacles, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, he maintained clear perspective and decisive action. "The biggest shift wasn't in how I felt during successes. It was in how I maintained my confidence through setbacks," Jordan explains. "By having specific practices in place, I stopped treating challenges as confidence threats and started seeing them as natural parts of the growth process." This transformation reveals the three core principles of confidence conditioning: consistency over intensity. Regular, moderate practices maintain confidence more effectively than sporadic, intense efforts. Preventive maintenance, addressing potential confidence drains before they become critical through regular check-ins and adjustments. Systematic recovery, having specific protocols for bouncing back from setbacks rather than leaving recovery to chance. The key insight is that confidence, like physical fitness, requires regular maintenance through specific practices. Just as an athlete doesn't expect to maintain peak performance without consistent training, you can't expect to maintain peak confidence without dedicated conditioning. This brings us to your practical exercise: creating your personal confidence maintenance routine. Take out a piece of paper and design your own confidence conditioning system across 3 time horizons. Daily practices, 10 to 15 minutes. What specific morning routine will maintain your confidence baseline? Which evening practice will help you process the day's events constructively? Weekly practices, 30 to 45 minutes. Which day will you dedicate to deeper confidence maintenance? What specific review and reset practices will you include? Monthly calibration, 1 to 2 hours. How will you assess your confidence levels across different life areas? What adjustments will you make to your maintenance routine based on results? Choose practices that resonate with your lifestyle and personality, but commit to them with the same seriousness an athlete brings to their training routine. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. It's consistent maintenance that creates sustainable confidence over time. Start with your daily practice tomorrow morning. Your confidence is too important to leave to chance. Chapter 24. Your Confidence. Legacy. Close your eyes for a moment and travel with me to the distant future. You're sitting in a comfortable chair, surrounded by the warmth of a life well lived, looking back across the decades. What you see isn't just a series of personal achievements or overcome obstacles, though there are plenty of those. What takes your breath away is the vast web of lives you've touched, the countless individuals who found their own strength because you dared to develop yours. This isn't just visualization, it's a very real glimpse into the exponential impact of personal confidence. When you develop unshakable self-trust, you create ripples that extend far beyond your own life, touching people you may never even meet. To understand this profound truth, let's examine the extraordinary journey of Dr. Jane Goodall. In 1960, a young woman with no college degree but an unwavering passion for animals arrived in Tanzania. The scientific establishment dismissed her. She lacked credentials, used unconventional methods, and worst of all, in their eyes, was a woman in a male-dominated field. But Jane possessed something more powerful than credentials, authentic confidence in her mission. She trusted her intuition about observing chimpanzees up close, even when critics called her methods unscientific. She believed in the importance of her discoveries, even when established researchers tried to discredit her work. What's remarkable isn't just that Jane proved her critics wrong, it's how her confidence created exponential change. Her groundbreaking observations about tool use in chimpanzees didn't just revolutionize primatology, they transformed our understanding of what it means to be human. Her confidence in speaking truth to power helped launch the modern conservation movement. But here's the most powerful part. Jane's confidence inspired others to find their own. Young women saw her standing firm against criticism and realized they too could pursue their dreams. Local communities witnessed her respect for their knowledge and developed confidence in their own conservation efforts. Today, the Jane Goodall Institute has programs in over 30 countries, creating a network of confident changemakers who are transforming their communities. Every individual matters. Every individual has a role to play. Every individual makes a difference, Jane often says. This isn't just about conservation, it's about the exponential power of confident individuals inspiring others to step into their own power. This reveals the three core principles of confidence multiplication. Authenticity inspires. When you develop genuine confidence, not just a facade, others are naturally drawn to your example. Vulnerability connects. Sharing your confidence journey, including the struggles, gives others permission to embrace their own growth. Growth multiplies. As you help others develop confidence, your own self-trust deepens and expands. The key insight is that confidence isn't just a personal resource. It's a catalyst for positive change that extends far beyond yourself. Every time you choose to build your self-trust, you create possibilities for others to do the same. This brings us to your legacy-building exercise. Take out your journal and answer these questions. What specific domain or area of life do you feel called to make a lasting positive impact? How could your growing confidence create opportunities for others in this area? What specific steps could you take in the next month to begin creating this ripple effect? Create a concrete plan for sharing your confidence journey in a way that empowers others. This might mean mentoring someone facing challenges you've overcome, sharing your story in a public forum, or creating opportunities for others to develop their own self-trust. Remember, your confidence journey isn't just about you. It's about the countless lives you'll touch as you grow. Start creating those ripples today. Conclusion. As you close these pages, take a moment to acknowledge the profound journey you've undertaken. You began this book seeking answers about confidence, perhaps viewing it as some elusive quality that others seem to naturally possess. Now you understand the deeper truth. Confidence isn't something you find. It's something you build, deliberately and consistently, through conscious choice and dedicated practice. Think back to where you started. Perhaps you were hesitating before important decisions, doubting your abilities, or waiting to feel ready before taking action. Through each chapter, you've dismantled these limiting patterns and replaced them with powerful new frameworks for approaching life's challenges. You've learned that action precedes confidence, that vulnerability strengthens rather than weakens your presence, and that every setback can become a stepping stone to greater self-trust. But this transformation extends far beyond just you. As you've developed genuine confidence, you've likely noticed subtle shifts in how others respond to you. Relationships may have deepened as your authentic self-expression created space for genuine connection. Professional opportunities might have expanded as your growing presence naturally drew others to your leadership. Most importantly, you've become a living example of what's possible when someone commits to developing unshakable confidence. To help you maintain momentum, let's establish your confidence continuation plan. First, identify 3 key principles from this book that resonated most deeply with you. These will become your foundational practices, the core elements you'll return to again and again as you face new challenges. Next, look ahead to the next 3 months. What specific situations or goals will require you to stretch your confidence? These become your growth opportunities, chances to deliberately practice and strengthen your self-trust. Finally, consider your sphere of influence. Who could benefit from what you've learned? How might you share your journey in a way that inspires others to develop their own confidence? Remember, maintaining confidence is like maintaining physical fitness. It requires consistent practice and occasional recalibration. You'll face new challenges that test your self-trust in unexpected ways. When this happens, return to the fundamental principles we've explored. Action creates confidence. When doubt creeps in, focus on taking one small step forward rather than waiting for certainty. Authenticity strengthens presence. Your unique perspective and experiences are assets, not liabilities. Growth requires discomfort. Embrace challenges as opportunities to strengthen your confidence muscle. You now possess something invaluable, a proven framework for building and maintaining unshakable confidence. You understand that confidence isn't about eliminating fear or doubt, but about moving forward purposefully despite them. You know how to transform setbacks into stepping stones and how to maintain self-trust even in challenging circumstances. As you step forward into your next chapter, carry with you the knowledge that you're not just building confidence for yourself. You're creating positive change that extends far beyond your immediate sphere. Your growing self-trust will inspire others, create opportunities for those around you, and contribute to a more confident and capable world. The question now isn't whether you can develop unshakable confidence. You've proven you can. The question is, how will you use this newfound power to create positive impact in your world? What mountains will you climb? What challenges will you tackle? What dreams will you finally pursue with the full force of your authentic confidence? Your journey to unshakable confidence isn't ending. It's evolving into something even more powerful. You're stepping into a new role as both student and teacher, continuing to grow while helping others discover their own strength. Every time you choose confidence over comfort, action over hesitation, or growth over safety, you're not just changing your own life. You're creating ripples of positive transformation that extend far beyond yourself. Your journey to unshakable confidence continues. Make it count. Thank you for listening and for investing in yourself. I believe in you. Your potential is endless. Now go out there and create the life you deserve.